in. Get outdoors on a green flag hiking trail or go for a game drive at one of 15 private reserves right at our doorstep. Hit the beach or get on board with a whale watching cruise. Explore the historical hearts of our city or come vibe with the locals on a township tour. There's so much to discover. Find Nelson Mandela Bay, South Africa on Facebook or visit nmbt.co.za. Nelson Mandela Bay, your winter and our summer destination.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
How is this for a news day, right? There's a vote of no confidence set to be underway in the city of Joburg to remove the mayor. That's imminent. The Gauteng High Court halts the burial proceedings of the former Zambian President Edgar Lungu. That's number two. There's been big issues in Kenya, and there's been a clampdown in the media following unrest in that country, complete media shutdown. And then next door, Uganda, Museveni effectively standing for a 7th term for election there, and he doesn't stop. There's a legal battle between the KZN Premier and the former DG. And you know what? I haven't even touched on Floyd Shivambu. All of that and more on the National Pulse. It's a crazy day. The pulses are racing. I'm going to connect with you. Looking forward to doing just that. My name's Ashraf Garda. As always, welcome. Welcome to the National Pulse. What's on your pulse? You can call in, as always, 086 000 2032, and then WhatsApp, text, or voice notes 0614 104 107. First-time callers and regulars, you are all welcome. And don't wait for me. Use that hashtag on the Twitter Space platform, on the X platform, hashtag the National Pulse, tag SFM Radio, tag me with any of the issues you feel strongly about that you want to raise. I'll pick it up immediately. So, amongst the many things, let's talk about the burial of the former Zambian President Edgar Lungu. We'll connect with Sophie Mokoena in just a moment or so. Let me just ask you, just in terms of when I say to you there's been a motion of no confidence brought by the DA for the city of Joburg to remove the mayor, what is your first response to that? Keeping in mind, I don't know whether Helen Zille said yesterday that Joburg was the jewel in the crown, maybe not, but she certainly made the point it was the economic heartland in whichever word she used. And she did say yesterday that she is certainly in the running to stand for the Joburg mayor if she gets her party's nod, because, I mean, that comes first. First the party, then the city. But we could have a situation now, today, that once again, Joburg may have a new mayor. Never mind bomb squad or no bomb squad. Right, let's see if we can connect with Sophie Mokoena. What I can do, maybe, perhaps, as we do that, we've got, I want to do this, in fact, right? There's some fascinating sound of some of the issues that we've already touched on. Let me do this, right? The family spokesperson, I'm going to just give you some context, right? So you do know that the Gauteng High Court opted to halt the burial proceedings of the Zambian former President Edgar Lungu. Now, the Zambian Attorney General had requested that the South African court halt the burial until the dispute between Lungu's family and the Zambian government is resolved. You know, that's been an ongoing issue in terms of who's got the right. So let's do this. Here's a clip from the family spokesperson relating to this issue.
When in fact he never did. But the family has been consistent. He mattered to the family when he was president. He matters to the family now. And taking him back home, it so appears, will not give him a dignified burial. And the family only wants to give him a dignified burial, not one that's shrouded in mockery, that's shrouded in PR, that's shrouded in giving the international community a perception that he was properly treated, when in fact not. Decency requires that The government should come across and say, we are sorry we never treated him well. We are sorry we did wrong to him. Now that he's dead, how can we make amends? No one spoke for Edgar Chagwa Lungu when he was alive. And now people want to pretend to speak for him when they were never there for him in his lifetime. And this time around, perhaps President Edgar Chagwa Lungu has refused to go down to the soil without the truth being told. And now onwards, until his burial, the truth of Edgar Chagwa Lungu shall be told, and we shall tell it in a very systematic way. In court, we shall tell the full story of Edgar Chagwa Lungu. How he came into South Africa as a private citizen. How that the protocols that he was entitled to, or the entitlements of being given, being accorded to the embassy to treat him in this country, our Zambian embassy, how that he never got anything from them. How that he came on a commercial flight, flying economy, got to this place, walked through security clearance, walked through immigration like a normal person, waited for an Uber outside the airport. Is that the life of a former president? Certainly not. And this should not be, his death should not be used as a PR stunt by the government of the Republic of Zambia. That story we shall tell in court, and evidence shall be brought before the court that will exonerate President Edgar Chagwa Lungu and his family.
So, Griselda Lewis from SABC Television News.
Yes.
Are you surprised that this court action came just hours before you were scheduled to have a funeral service that was taking place? And what has been the reaction from the people of Zambia? I guess some of them would have wanted to be part of a send-off that would involve the former head of state. He is not an ordinary person, as you've indicated.
You know, we look at it differently. We've not been inconvenienced. President Edgar Chagwa Lungu has refused to go down to the ground without the truth being told. And the government has given us an opportunity by taking the matter to the Pretoria court to tell the story. This is an opportunity that we shall take with both hands, and we shall use this opportunity to the maximum to tell the story of Edgar Chagwa Lungu. That's what we shall do.
Does that mean then that you are continuing to bid for him to stay in South Africa?
Okay, so that's one part now. Here's Given Lubinda, the vice president of the Patriotic Front, which, as you may know, is Lungu's party was part of this. He had this to say about the court judgment.
But he doesn't come to us with any surprise, because the man whose life we are celebrating was an extraordinary man, and his being put to rest is expected to be extraordinary. We are here in church, waiting for the arrival of the remains of our dear departed extraordinary president.
Okay, what do you make of that? I mean, what do you make of this turn of events? And in doing so, I'm sure you have some opinion. So what moves the national pulse, but already comments on the former Zambian president? Now, to call in, it's 086 000 2032. In fact, I can take some WhatsApp voice notes right away. I can also take voice notes about our next conversation, which is that the Ugandan president, Yoweri Museveni, declared now his intention to run for not first, not second, not third, his seventh term of office. And while we talk about that, Joburg, the mayor, short-lived at this point in time, there's a move to unstage or unseat him. That's the merry-go-round in the city that's been dominant in our lives. People live in the city for a good few years now. Well, either way, this is the National Pulse. What's yours?
Tani Esther, or should I say the Tupperware Tani? How's business going?
Business is booming. I've been operating out of the boot of my car for 10 years, but shame, it couldn't keep up with my growing empire.
Okay, so you sold it to We Buy Cars?
Yes, quick. Sold my old one, bought a bigger one. I even sold some of my Tupperware to the friendly guy who picked up my car.
Stick to what you know best, eh, Tani?
Excuse me?
Never mind. We Buy Cars. Geared for your business, geared for you.
What if you open up more? Open up to learning and experiencing more of Mzansi and abroad? What if you open up culture and explore the extraordinary from music to drama and the latest fashion? What if you open up your wild side, discover a world of skyscraping cities and brown sugar beaches? What if you open up your kitchen and immerse yourself in cuisines from all corners of the world? What if you open up your voice with all eyes on you without being seen? What if you open up your morning to lekker conversations and world-class entertainment? What if you open up more?
In business, timing is everything. The right moment to expand, invest, or move forward won't wait. So why should you? With Standard Bank's business lending solutions, you get access to the funding you need when you need it. Get a business revolving loan for quick cash flow, a business term loan to scale up, a business credit card for day-to-day expenses, property finance to secure the perfect space, or commercial asset finance to invest in the right tools. Keep your business growing with our business lending solutions. Visit standardbank.co.za/business loans to apply. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power, and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world, empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Okay, so while we reflect on what's happening in Zambia and the implications of, well, what's happening in South Africa or not happening in South Africa regarding the former president of Zambia, Edgar Lungu, we will also talk about the issues in Uganda and what that means with the President Museveni now confirming that he intends to stand for a 7th term of office. He's 80 years old. I mean, should there be a number? Should there be a cap on the term of office you should have? Many countries have 2 terms. South Africa certainly does have that. The Americans do, but maybe others I don't know. And then others, you have a situation where it's unlimited, as you've now just seen, isn't it? Okay, we should be chatting to Dr. David Matsanga. I will do that pretty shortly. But I'll tell you what, let's see if we can pick out some of your thoughts on some of the issues that we've already discussed already, including that motion of real confidence, including what's happening in KZN. Yesterday we also touched on it already, that so many of these branches have been shut down in that region, ANC branches in KZN. But the vote of no confidence in Joburg, and then regarding KwaZulu-Natal, your thoughts about this legal battle. We'll talk about it just now between the Premier and the former DG. Again, a reflection of some of the biggest trouble spots that we're experiencing in our country. There's trouble spots, not so much in terms of fighting, but almost infighting and what that means, okay? So therefore, what do you see? I also understood regarding the state of issue of the MK party and where the former Secretary General may or may not be going. I'm talking about Floyd Shivambu. There's a sense I see, and it's been quoted from many others, that Floyd was in a position to try and assist that party to grow its support outside of KZN. But now we could have a situation where he may do that anyway without the help of the MK party, meaning great for himself and his new party when it finally gets officially confirmed. But also at the same time, you could have a situation where the MK party that did it tremendously well in their first ever election may well have its wings clipped. I don't know. Let's stay with the issue of Zambia for the moment. The Zambian government MP Chanda Kototobwe says the wishes of, speaks in fact about the wishes of the late former president Edgar Lungu.
Really, what should happen next is very simple. It's just to obey the wishes of our late 6th president, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, a phenomenal personality. So if his wishes was that the current sitting president must not be present or must skip away from his funeral, our only appeal would be to the current president to obey the wishes of our late president. In this life, there are some things you can change. There are some things you can't change. What our late president's wishes were cannot be changed now. Even he himself, our late 6th president, cannot change it. So in this life, my encouragement would be, as we live our lives, it's Ubuntu. life society will judge us by our actions. So if somebody says, I don't want this person to be near my funeral, and that person is deceased, even the person who said that has no longer got power or authority to change it in the world we live in. Where we are, our 6th Republican President, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, had made clear his wishes, and I can only appeal to authorities to respect his wishes.
Okay, let's now cross to Kenny Mapanga, the SABC News reporter who's been covering the story of Edgar Lungu. Right? Kenny, appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting to us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and to the listeners.
Thank you. I would think another day of high drama, and a day where there's like high drama in 4 or 5 places in our country and in our continent.
Indeed. However, we saw that today it does appear that the outcome that you saw in the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria this morning was as a result of both parties coming together to make some undertakings in order to reach that draft order, which essentially halted the burial from proceeding at least until the 4th or the 5th of August, when the main determination would be held. Unless the parties are able to come to an agreement outside of the court, then that is the next time you'll see this issue being determined by the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. That is the heart of the matter. Remember, this morning, the Zambian government was only seeking an interim interdict pending Part B of their application, which would have been the main adjudication as to the question of whether the former president should be repatriated back to his homeland, or if the family can bury him in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Give us some context in terms of, as you said, the parties came together. What were they actually negotiating? Because clearly they have opposite views, and they wanted to try and marry those two positions apart and bring it together.
Well, indeed, there are two positions. The family is stating that the wishes of the former president are to be buried outside of the presence of his successor, that is the current president, Hichilema. You may remember that a repatriation was actually underway, but it was stopped because the family learned that the body would be received by the current president. So what the Zambian government had done is that they brought an application in terms of Article 177 of Zambia's constitution, that is Section 5, subsection C, which basically gives the Attorney General certain powers and creates a role for them in the midst of the Zambian government. So it's to act in the best interests of the Zambian government. So essentially, that application was centered on the public interest. Now, the Attorney General can bring that application arguing that it is not in the public interest for a former head of state to be laid to rest in South Africa, and rather a more fitting ceremony would be for the former head of state to be brought back to Zambia to have a state funeral. Now, the only issue in contention, it appears, is whether the current successor will be involved in that particular funeral or that particular process. It seems that had the family not learned of the successor waiting to receive the body, that repatriation that we saw a few days ago might have gone ahead. So in the absence of these parties being able to reach an agreement prior to the first week of August, then you can expect that no burial in South Africa will take place of the former head of state, and it will now be left in the South African courts to determine this very serious issue as to where the former president should be laid to rest and what kind of ceremony should be afforded to him.
Okay, let's leave it at that. I appreciate you giving us, sharing the insights on the day-to-day. Kenny Mapanga, the SABC News reporter who covered the Edgar Lungu court case earlier today. But as you know now, that the Gauteng High Court opting to halt the burial proceedings of Edgar Lungu, and this is subject to conversations between South Africa and Zambia. We have other developing issues which I'll get to in a moment.
The Market Update, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Want to stay ahead of the financial game? Join us tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for an insightful journey through the day's market developments, financial updates, and investment news. Tune in for your daily dose of financial intelligence as we navigate the twists and turns of the financial landscape with expert insights. Only on the SAFM Market Update.
SFM Market Update with Jimmy Muyaha.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.6 FM in Mangaung.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
You know, the issue of local government or municipalities and service or non-service delivery, it's something that certainly tugs at the heart of just about all of us, right? So South Africa's President Ramaphosa, says the national government is taking steps to address this issue, the issue meaning the challenges that many municipalities around the country faces.
Auditor General's local government audit report in many ways highlights the persistent deterioration of the financial management as well as governance and service delivery performance of many of our municipalities across the country. Now, the report also paints a very stark picture of widespread financial mismanagement, also non-compliance, as well as non-compliance with regulations and processes, as well as irregular expenditure. But it also deals with the lack of, as I said earlier, lack of consequence management and weak internal control systems in a number of our municipalities. Now, this is concerning. The national government is therefore taking steps to address the challenges that many of our municipalities are facing. While some of these challenges are quite specific to each municipality, many of these challenges have their roots in systemic problems and must be addressed through what I would call structural reforms that need to be embarked upon. Now, the Department of Cooperative Governance has embarked on a process to update the white paper on local government to ensure that local government system is a system that is effective as well as being fit for purpose, the purpose of delivering good services to our people. The Minister is engaging in a series of consultations with political parties, with representatives of provincial as well as local government, and has included in his consultation process various social partners. And in this regard, just this week, he held a dialogue to contribute to the review of the white paper. The issue of optimizing the number of municipalities, as well as the appropriateness of the two-tier system of local government, must be considered as part of this process. And this is a process or an issue that is currently under discussion. While there are strong arguments for having fewer municipalities, there are also strong reasons to ensure that local government remains local and accountable to the people that it serves. So there are those two sides to the coin, and we therefore must find a midpoint which will enable us to have more effective municipalities. And this may
Well, two sides to a coin. The question is just, which side does the coin actually drop, and does it impact on you or not, right? More to come. Certainly welcome your reaction on local municipalities as per President Ramaphosa. But for now, let's get to the news headlines. It's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines at 3:30, we start with the news just in. Dada Morero remains the mayor of Johannesburg. This after surviving the DA-sponsored motion of no confidence against him during a council sitting in Braamfontein, Johannesburg this afternoon. President Cyril Ramaphosa expressed concern at the continuation of underspending of the budget by both provinces and municipalities, and the City of Cape Town's Disaster Risk Management Centre is responding to weather-related incidents with reports of flooding and wind damage across several areas. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound in Bedfordview has a stationary bus before Giluli's interchange, and Allendale Road eastbound in Klerkop has delays towards Kenoch Road. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a crash and stationary truck on the link to the N3 east at Spaghetti Junction, and Umgeni Road westbound slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound has flooding reported towards the N7 Jakes Hadville Drive, and Klipfontein Road flooding reported as well near the M5 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
To me, all I know is 9 p.m. South African time. That's what matters.
It's D-Day. A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, Mamelodi Sundowns are on the verge of becoming the only African team in the FIFA Club World Cup knockout phase. That's if they beat Fluminense tonight. The Brazilian side is top of Group F, leading with the goal difference and tied on 4 points with Borussia Dortmund. Now, this means that Masandawana need anything, or if they do get anything other than a win, they will see themselves crash out of the tournament like their fellow African sides. And Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso says that the game will definitely be like a chess match.
If the game is taken to their comfort zone and we play a game that we don't usually play, then the effort we are doing is more aggressive for us because it's not the effort that we usually train. So the impact of the temperature, of the runs, of the exercise can be higher. It means more negative. So I agree that with the question that and the statement of Renato is saying that he'll try to have the ball, and what he's saying is he'll try to manage the game until its end, to arrive on the final stages of the match in a physical positive condition, let's say. So that's why to the game I think it will be very beautiful, because both teams will try to have that moment. And I think emotionally that will be very important. Something like, now we are defending, but when we win the ball, what we're going to do immediately after we did is decisive. We cannot lose it immediately. Sometimes it's better to give a pass back and take the ball there so that you can really take the ball and not eventually look quick for a risk pass to go in attack, because then you'll have to submit yourself again to play without the ball. And I think both teams will have that in mind.
Well, kickoff is at 9 p.m. But still staying with football, there's football on the go. PSL promotion relegation playoffs with Orbit College needing a win against Cape Town City to be promoted into the Betway Premiership. Just looking at that game, 34 minutes in, it remains goalless and we'll definitely keep a close eye on it. But for City, they need to win this afternoon's game and their final one to retain their top flight status. Elsewhere, Barcelona have announced that the club will return to Camp Nou on the 10th of August for a friendly after years of work expanding the stadium. The traditional pre-season Joan Gamper Trophy match will only mark the stadium's partial reopening, with construction work continuing in various areas. The Catalan Giants have not confirmed the initial capacity, but according to local media, it's reported that the available stands can hold around 35,000 fans. In rugby, an all-South African officiating team will be in charge of Saturday's match between the Springboks and the Barbarians at Cape Town Stadium. AJ Jacobs is the man in the middle, with Christopher Allison and Stefan Geldenhuys the assistant referees. And Saturday's match does not have the test status, so neutral match officials are not a requirement. In cricket, Proteas women's head coach Mandla Mashimbi remains unfazed by his side's recent batting stumbles on the Caribbean tour. Despite flashes of brilliance from Tasman Brits, skipper Laura Fulvard and Snow Lewis, the team struggled for consistency at the crease, and Mashimbi brushed it off as part of the game, saying dips in form are simply chances for others to step up and be counted.
It's cricket, you know. Some people will fail, some people will do well. But the lovely thing about this team now is that we do know we have a bit of depth from a batting point of view, and players down the batting order have come and actually put us in good positions. So, yeah, if they fail, then that's it. You know, the other ones need to work. So it means that other people need to score the runs. But otherwise, the nice thing about this team now is the fact that you can't just rely on one person or one or two people. A lot of players are putting their hands up, but today it wasn't to be, I guess.
Then finally, in boxing, Daniel Dubois says that he's ready to end Alexander Usyk's boxing career when they meet at Wembley for the undisputed heavyweight title. Usyk, who is 38, recently split from his longtime promoter, adding talk that he may retire soon. Now, Dubois, who is 27 years old, is aiming to take Usyk's WBA, WBO and WBC belts. And Ashraf, we're looking forward to that clash this evening where Sundowns need to win.
And for the record, I want Sundowns to win. Not because I support them, because I support South Africa. I want Sundowns to win. Can I say it one more time?
Yes, say it again.
I want Sundowns to win.
I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
Every murder has a moment when it could have been stopped. Countdown to Murder takes you inside the chilling timeline from ordinary days to unthinkable crimes. Real stories, real people, and the final hours before everything fell apart. Countdown to Murder. Every second tells a story. Thursdays at 9 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
A stage awaits. Not for applause, but for possibility. For over 40 years, Standard Bank has championed the arts. And at the National Arts Festival, we don't just watch talent rise, we help grow it. Through our Standard Bank Young Artist Winners, raw voices find power, unseen stories take the spotlight, and what begins as a dream grows into a legacy. Join us in Makanda for the festival. Standard Bank, proud lead sponsor of B20 South Africa, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
The National Arts Festival is back. South Africa's biggest celebration of the arts is on. From the 26th of June to the 6th of July, Makanda becomes the stage for South Africa's boldest theatre, dance, music, arts, comedy, and more. Experience the creative energy, markets, exhibitions, and many surprises. It's where the country comes to create and the world takes notice. Browse the program and book now at nationalartsfestival.co.za. Own it, celebrate it, be there. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, we've had some changes because of some of the issues we've been covering. So the one issue around Yoweri Museveni, we'll talk to David Matsanga about that pretty shortly. But there's a significant development in the city of Johannesburg, or development or maybe non-development, depends on which is your perspective regarding the motion of no confidence against the Joburg mayor. Let's get up to date with the issue with the SABC News reporter Neria Klakotsa, who's been covering the story. Appreciate your time, Neria. You're on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and good afternoon to the listeners.
Okay, so when we last heard, there was this plan for a motion of no confidence. I understand that vote has happened. What's come out?
The vote has happened, and Mayor Dada Morero has survived the motion of no confidence against him. We saw 43 people abstaining from the vote, and obviously from the morning's briefing that included Action SA, because they were clear from the start that they will be abstaining from this. And then there were 75 yeses agreeing with the motion, and the motion was tabled by the Democratic Alliance. So no guessing there. They are among the people that voted yes. And the noes were 144, which obviously included the ANC, which said that they are sure that Mayor Dada Morero is going nowhere. And we also heard during the debates from parties such as the EFF, who were saying they are putting politics aside and will be voting against the motions. So right now it is clear the Speaker has just announced that the mayor is going nowhere.
Okay, does that result come as a surprise, meaning that I would think if the DA put forward this proposal or this motion, you'd want to expect that they believe they have a good chance to remove the mayor. In fact, if you've given me those numbers, that's a convincing vote of support for the mayor, right?
Yes, one would think that, especially because in recent months, even the mayor has been getting slammed for the lack of for poor service delivery around Johannesburg, for the robots that are not working, the traffic lights, that is, for the potholes. However, parties are saying this time around that this is political. This is a political move by the Democratic Alliance. They don't really want the mayor to leave, but the EFF was saying that they don't want a black person to lead. And some were even saying that they are just unhappy for their own reasons. It has nothing to do with the people of Johannesburg. So I think this is where they lost most people, because the parties we spoke to, also like Al Jama, were saying it's a political move. If they remove the mayor, who's going to come in? Are they preparing to put Helen Zille as the mayor? What are they trying to do right now? We don't agree with this. Yes, Mayor Dada Morero is far from being perfect, but we will not side with the DA. I mean, Action SA was even saying that we were not even consulted by DA on this decision that they are making. So who do they think they are? We will not even bother to vote in that instance. We are abstaining completely because we will not defend the mayor. 2, we will not side with the DA. So we saw a lot of parties not wanting to side with the DA, and mainly because politically they did not agree with the party.
So ironically, this in effect would be a motion of no confidence against the DA. In effect, meaning not enough support that the DA got to carry the motion.
Essentially, and depending on how you look at it. So most parties were not happy, and they were not in support of what the DA brought to council. But one thing, Ashraf, that is interesting, even in all these parties, they are admitting that indeed there are challenges in the council. Indeed, there are service delivery challenges in Johannesburg. However, this is not the way to go about it. The ANC even saying, why did the DA not come to us and say, we are unhappy with how Mayor Dada Morero is running things? You must remember the DA is also very angry about the implementation, the establishment of the bomb squad. So these are the issues that parties felt that the DA could have come to council and speak to them about them, and not just take a decision and expect them to ride along or even vote with them.
What about now? I mean, the motion, we have huge focus on the mayor, but in fact, the position of the speaker and the chief whip was also on the line, isn't it? What happened there?
They are also hanging in the balance. As I speak to you right now, there's a debate in terms of the chief whip's position with the motion, with what parties are thinking. So I just had to get out quickly to speak to you. And then after the chief whip, we are expecting perhaps to have the speaker's one. And now with what has transpired, remember Al Jama is the one that brought the speaker's motion of no confidence, and because of Action SA deciding that they will abstain, the ANC has said they will vote now against the speaker because the speaker belongs to Action SA. So we can already see how this might go, because Action SA has also said to us this morning that they are willing to compromise the speaker position if it means that they would rather not have a position rather than stay in a place they are not happy with. So after the chief whip, we're expecting the speaker's debate and the voting of the speaker to happen.
Okay, that means, and I don't want to delay you because you need to get back there, does that mean that there's a good chance that we actually could have a new speaker, or the speaker could be removed today because the ANC, amazingly, the allies on one day and not allies on the next day, could actually vote against the speaker and against the Action SA party?
Definitely, that's what the ANC was saying, and they were very frank on it and very stern on it to say we cannot have an alliance partner like the Action SA who decides to be with us one day and the next day they are not with us. I mean, we've discussed this. We've told them that their speaker must resign, but Action SA did not agree. Then we told them to their faces that then we will vote for your speaker to go. So it might see it as it looks right now from the ANC side. It looks like indeed the speaker will go, because then they will get support of their partners, the GLU partners also. So the likelihood that the speaker is leaving is mainly maybe very high right now, but you never know. In politics, an hour is a long time.
Absolutely. Just the last thing, and I know, I mean, all may well be in chambers, but has any of the parties, just any one of them, have they commented already in the light of the fact that the Joburg mayor has won that motion of no confidence? He's been able to stave it off?
Well, unfortunately, we haven't had an opportunity to speak to anyone because immediately after the mayor vote, they jumped quickly to the voting for the chief whip. But one thing that happened when the speaker announced the numbers, there was cheering in the gallery, there was cheering in the council, everybody seemingly happy. There was a little of singing here and there. So you can see the majority that voted against the motion was happy ultimately that this transpired the way it did.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Appreciate your time. And clearly what's it, a hectic day for you and perhaps even more hectic for the different political parties that make up the city of Joburg, right? Indeed. So thank you for your time now, and maybe we'll even talk to you later on, depending on where those votes go for the speaker and beyond that, right? That's Neria Klakotsa, the SABC News reporter covering that story. Let's get to Uganda right after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Got a Standard Bank business account and self-service banking? You could win up to 5,000 Rand cash every day this week in the Standard Bank self-service quiz. SMS Standard Bank self-service to 45787 for a chance to be selected. Answer 2 easy questions about Standard Bank self-service banking to be a winner. Tune in every day this week on the Midday Link-Up to see if it's you. Standard Bank. It can be. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The National Arts Festival is back. South Africa's biggest celebration of the arts is on. From the 26th of June to the 6th of July, Makhanda becomes the stage for South Africa's boldest theatre, dance, music, arts, comedy, and more. Experience the creative energy, markets, exhibitions, and many surprises. It's where the country comes to create and the world takes notice. Browse the program and book now at nationalartsfestival.co.za. Own it, celebrate it, be there.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Okay, we're just having some difficulty connecting with our guest in Uganda, maybe understandably so. But I want to pick up, however, some of your thoughts that you have raised, because, of course, you're on the pulse, and I need to feel it.
Ashraf, tell us down in regard to the preparations of the storms. The Western Cape people are ready for any eventuality in as far as the storms are concerned. Unlike our KwaZulu-Natal, there was a disaster, and disaster killed a lot in Eastern Cape as well. You see, that's how Helen Zille is operating. Tell us down in that regard. Thanks, it's William in Kuma.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that Cape Town's sort of completely immune against storms. There's so many factors that come into play, I can tell you now. I understand the floodline, but what about those many fires that take place on Table Mountain and on the sides there? I mean, these things happen, right? Okay, here's more about an issue we touched on first up at Galungu.
Burial of former state president Lungu. it is impressive that the court in South Africa have found it necessary to hold the burial of the former state president. It will be very unfair for the society and the community and the nation of his country to have him buried in a foreign land in a self-styled exile. Let him be buried whole. Ganjo.
Okay, and there's more. And by the way, while we're talking about that, Floyd Shivambu has been pretty busy, as you know. So he also tweeted earlier on and saying on the 27th of June, that's Friday, we will announce the National Consultation Team, the NCT, of Mayibuye consultation process. As always, we will use the opportunity to exercise what Amilcar Cabral taught us, that as revolutionaries, we should hide nothing from the masses of our people, tell no lies. And then saying expose lies whenever they were told, mask no difficulties, mistakes, failures, claim no easy victories, tell no lies, claim no easy victories, Mayibuye Africa. Well, that story is going to run its course, and let's see what that course really is, isn't it? Right, here's another.
Hi, listeners of SAFM. I'm Anonymous from Gqeberha. I just wanted to sort of put something out there. Can we not have people call the WhatsApp line whilst the show is live on air? I was trying to listen to the Cyril Ramaphosa clip, and half of the time we couldn't hear what was being said because someone was trying to call the WhatsApp line. Please, guys.
Okay, I think it's interesting as we're playing that. There's just some lines getting mixed because normally you're quite right that when we play WhatsApp voice notes, we don't get the sound of any other call, but there's just some misconnection where the lines are crossed, and we need to sort that out. But point taken, absolutely right. Right, here's another comment about FIFA, by the way.
Afternoon, Ashraf and SAFM listeners. Buta here from Pretoria. My moment will have to be we hosting the FIFA World Cup. It's a FIFA World Cup, Ashraf. I don't even think you can compare winning a Rugby World Cup compared to hosting FIFA World Cup. Soccer will always be better and greater than rugby. Doesn't matter how many Rugby World Cups we win, but hosting that FIFA World Cup will always be great and will always be the best moment for me. So Zuma holding that World Cup will be far greater than Cyril celebrating and us winning the Rugby World Cup. Can't compare rugby with soccer. You can never do that. Tanko.
Okay, there we are. I don't know why you're bringing the presidents into it between Zuma and Ramaphosa. I think Mandela, leave him apart. That's quite an unusual one. But I take your point, and this is what I asked yesterday. Which is the more significant? The Springboks winning the 1995 Rugby World Cup and what that did for nation building in our country versus South Africa winning and then winning the right to and then actually hosting what for all intents and purposes was a very, very successful 2010 FIFA World Cup, meaning if one was internal in terms of what it did for the country internally, what did the 2010 World Cup do for South Africa externally? Which one is the greater? Just think about it. I must tell you, I have different views on that over the hours, okay? So there we are.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Makwara Shinyazo from Thoyando. What a shame. What a shame. A disgrace and a total embarrassment to the people of Zambia that their former president, Edgar Lungu, has to be buried in another country because of the disputes they have with the current government. But I also blame the current government on how they treated their former president. This is very embarrassing, and we do not know this in our African culture. We know that during the times like this, when there's someone is passing, when someone has passed on, You know, we know that funerals must bring people together, must unite the people, must bring people together, irrespective of their differences, because they can put their differences aside and move on. But now it is not happening here.
But do you think people always put their differences aside? I don't know. I mean, I like what you're saying about the ideal, but does that really happen? Let's get some more thoughts, by the way. And on that issue of the Joburg mayor, that he survived a vote of no confidence. So Joburg Mayor Morero is still the mayor of Joburg at a time when perhaps many would have thought differently. Yesterday, you may know, I had a chat with Helen Ziller, and she confirmed what she did say before, that her intention is to stand for Joburg mayor. Not today, but to stand for Joburg mayor. Provided, of course, for that to happen, she first has to get the support of the DA internally in terms of their federal council, and then, of course, get the nod, and then hopefully for her win a vote at council level. So whether that was linked to today's vote or not, I don't know, but she certainly has her eye on the city of Joburg, right?
Afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. This is Lunga from Carltonville. I was wondering if you might have any information regarding the death of the great trumpet player, Mr. Feafago. Still shocked about it. I don't know, man. If you have any info, if you might share with us. This is really painful. We love Prafea. Peace.
Okay, got that. I'll tell you what, I don't know offhand, but let me do this. Let's get Keys and Temba just to follow that up so we can pass on the relevant information, in this case, to you, right? There are more comments, and here's the other one. I mean, did you see how after that ceasefire that Donald Trump negotiated, there's already been this call, and I know some people have mocked at me and laughed when I suggested that Trump has got designs on winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, I'll tell you what, there's already been moves now to say, after he's put together this deal, never mind the day before, that America also stormed Iran, that he should be in line to get the Nobel Peace Prize. That's how the world works. I also understand there's now been moves that Iran sanctions has been lifted. They can trade. All this happened with breathtaking speed. They did say that one thing about Donald Trump, he's decisive, yeah. Doesn't make him right, but it does make him decisive. But he's also very, very transactional. So whatever he does, there's a business bottom line motive, and that's how he does deals. Here's another one. Today I'm supporting a team I hate. Oh my God. Today I am supporting a team I hate. My heart is for Corsi for life. Oh, I wish it was the same with today's ANC. When will they ever make the whole nation proud? Sir Elton from Douglas. Well, there we are. Okay. There's something else about a friend of yours, some anonymous, but it's more detailed, more requests for help. I can't really read that out on the air, I would think, isn't it? Okay, let me tell you what else we're going to be covering later on, right? So we've been struggling to get hold of David Matsanga, which is a huge pity. What we should do is we're going to talk about the Nkomazi local municipality, their workers not being paid in full this month, and they are naturally very, very upset about that. We'll pick up on that conversation in a moment. Let's get the news headlines now. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. Top stories at 4. Morero survives a vote of no confidence and reports of flooding in some parts of Cape Town. For SAFM News, I am Ondela and a very good afternoon. Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero has survived a vote of no confidence against him. The DA brought the motion accusing the mayor of leading a dysfunctional and deteriorating city during his more than 10 months in office. Action SA abstained and did not vote on the motion. Johannesburg Council Speaker Nobuhle Mthembu read out the votes.
The results are as follows. The councillors who abstained from this voting process, 43. The yeses, 75. The noes, 144. The motion does not pass.
President Cyril Ramaphosa expressed concern at the continuation of underspending of the budget by both provinces and municipalities. Ramaphosa has described the ongoing underspending of the public money as treason against the people. He says the problem of under-expenditure by various structures of government further delays the delivery of essential services to communities. Ramaphosa expressed his unhappiness while answering oral questions in the National Council of Provinces this afternoon.
The government regularly assesses the trends in underspending by our provinces and municipalities and the impact this has on their ability to be able to deliver quality services to our communities. The issue of underspending is quite an important issue, particularly when it comes to spending on infrastructure allocations such as housing, education, water, and roads. This is of great concern. I actually often characterize it as treason against the people of South Africa.
The Western Cape Mobility Department says the provincial regulatory entity will process new applications for operating licenses for metered and e-hailing taxi services in Cape Town. The department spokesperson Munira Ali has confirmed that 6,600 vehicles are required to accommodate passenger demand. Ali says reports have revealed that there is a shortfall of 1,106 operating licenses that are not registered for the City of Cape Town area. Speaking after the city's update of the metered and e-hailing taxi demand model, Ali encouraged qualifying operators to apply.
Metered and e-hailing taxi services play a vital role in the Metro's transport network, connecting thousands of residents to work, education and economic opportunities. This window provides a critical opportunity for operators to either renew or apply for licenses, ensuring that services remain legal, safe and aligned with the city's infrastructure capacity.
The City of Cape Town's traffic services says there are currently no weather-related road closures. Spokesperson Maxine Bezuidenhout has, however, urged motorists to watch their speed and following distance as wet conditions are expected to continue for the next few days.
However, we do have a number of reports of flooded roads, including Greenwich Road in Deep River, Governor Mbeki and Edward Makela in Gugulethu, Klipfontein Road in Gugulethu, as well as Manitoba Close in Portland's Mitchells Plain.
The Kenyan government has ordered television and radio stations in the country not to broadcast the current protests which are ongoing in the capital, Nairobi. The protests mark the anniversary of the storming of Parliament last year, which was sparked by the introduction of a tax bill. Didaba Zodetsi reports.
The Kenyans have turned out in numbers to mark the anniversary of last year's demonstrations where many people lost their lives. They protested against President William Ruto's administration following the introduction of a tax bill. Earlier this month, Kenyans went back to the streets after 31-year-old social media blogger Albert Ojwang was killed in police custody. He was accused of defaming police chief on social media. 6 people, including 3 police officers, were charged with his murder. The death of Ojwang has become a lightning rod for Kenyans.
Recapping the top story, Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero has survived a vote of no confidence against him. The DA brought the motion accusing the mayor of leading a dysfunctional and deteriorating city during his more than 10 months in office. I'm Wandela Mbana for SFM News Headlines at 4:30.
In sports this hour, Mutiba a doubt for Sundown's crucial game tonight and SS Khodiso Blazers to 800-meter win. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, slow moving towards Crown Interchange. The N1 southbound in Fourways is queuing on the off-ramp to Winnie Mandela Drive, and the N1 northbound in Midrand queuing towards New Road. In KZN, the M7, there's truck congestion reported at South Coast Road. The N2 southbound has a crash, as well as a stationary truck reported on the link to the N3 East at Spaghetti Junction, and on Umgeni Road westbound, slow-moving traffic reported through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, on the N1 outbound, flooding at Kuburg Interchange. The N2 outbound has flooding reported towards the N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive, and Berkeley Road, flooding reported in the Ndabeni area. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
The National Arts Festival is back. South Africa's biggest celebration of the arts is on. From the 26th of June to the 6th of July, Makhanda becomes the stage for South Africa's boldest theatre, dance, music, arts, comedy, and more. Experience the creative energy, markets, exhibitions, and many surprises. It's where the country comes to create and the world takes notice. Browse the program and book now at nationalartsfestival.co.za. Own it, celebrate it, be there. This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power, and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world, empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So as we talk about the city of Joburg and the mayor having survived the motion of no confidence, we'll see what happens to the speaker as well just now and the chief whip too. Again, the issues of the ambitions of the DA comes to the fore. What ambitions do they have for the city of Johannesburg, right? And talking about that, did you see that the city of New York has a potentially new mayor? Not quite yet, because this person has just won the nomination for the Democratic Party to be the mayor for the state or the city of New York. That still has to happen, but for all intents, many believe that he may, and I'm talking about Mamdani, may well get the nod. Now, what's interesting about him, because he's the son of Mahmoud Mamdani, and of course he, born in Kenya, and then the prof, that is, Mamdani, then spent a few years in Cape Town, and the Laitiki was a young boy, spent 2-3 years in this country, in South Africa, and then before they moved to the USA. But interesting links that he makes, and if we get some sound, we'll play that just now in terms of where he stands in terms of global politics. Really interesting indeed. Let's get to domestic politics in just now, in fact, regarding KZN. But here's one that is all about, the politics of the stomach, isn't it? Workers affiliated with a number of unions at the Nkomazi local municipality, they went back to the picket lines this morning. Why? Well, to demand what they say is due to them. According to the workers, this month's salary has not been paid in full, with payments of overtime and other third-party liabilities, such as medical aid, still outstanding. So, where do we get what's the issue? How do we get this resolved? Sam Lekuleni is the Samwu Provincial Secretary in the Mpumalanga region. Sam, appreciate your time, as always, on the National Pulse. Hello.
Afternoon.
Thank you. Right, to explain what the story is. So I understand there's a salary, but overtime not being paid and other things like medical cover not being covered. That's not normal, is it?
Yes, we got a challenge in Nkomazi municipality, which has been for some time now in terms of the finances, the payment of workers regarding to their third parties, your medical, your pension fund, and other related third parties.
Yeah. Now, what I'm asking is that normal that you don't get paid some parts of the total salary? Meaning, does it happen often or not?
Yes, it's often. It's not the first time. We started to notice this last year, just that it was happening sporadic. Sometimes it's normal. Sometimes they are not paying. They will pay late. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the line you've taken? I mean, you've joined the picket line. You're protesting. What's the plan?
We got meetings with the municipalities, the leadership, in particular the administration. They made some commitment that they will sort the matter probably in the coming months, due to the fact that now they don't have money. They are expecting the allocation of their budget as from 1 July. We hope that they will sort the problem.
Yeah. I mean, have they given an actual reason why the workers have not been paid? I mean, What are they saying? They're short of money or what?
Yeah, they don't have money. They were very clear to say. It's very disappointing, actually. It's a very painful situation that is happening in that municipality.
And what are
they don't have money.
What do the workers feel about it? Because obviously you've now communicated that message to your constituency, to the workers, and said the bosses don't have money. How do they feel about it?
No, workers are angry. As we're speaking now, they are on industrial action. They are outside fighting for their rights, fighting for their monies, to say we need our money. It's a contract. They sign contract between the two to say every 25 of the month they will get the following. Now they are not getting what is due to them. They are outside. Even tomorrow they will be still demonstrating in the building, outside the building of the municipality of Nkomazi.
Okay. Having said that, you're saying the municipality says they will sort out the matter. Have they given a deadline, an actual timeline?
They committed to say somewhere on the 7th of July, they think that they will be having money to sort the debts. Then we are not sure, because it's for some time we are observing these kind of things in Nkomazi in particular. But it's a high risk that we are observing, that municipality used to pay, used to be stable. Now we don't know what happened with the leadership of that municipality.
Just give us an idea how many people affected by this?
There is a lot of people, I must tell you. They are close to 2,000. It's around 1,000. Our membership in actual fact is around 1,500. This is our membership alone. But the staff complement of that municipality is too big. But there's this other part that we noted now today. The councillors as employers, they were paid in full pay. But the workers, they did not get their full pay. Meaning that councillors, your mayors, your speakers, and other councillors, they got their full salaries, including the third parties that I'm referring to.
How do you know that they got full pay and your members did not?
You must not forget that a municipality, everyone that is there most is workers. These are our members. They told us. They got information. They are the people who are pressing the button, paying everyone. Then we got information that councillors, they got paid.
So what percentage of the, you said maybe 2,000, maybe 1,500 people are affected. Are we saying 100% of that 1,500 people have not been paid that full amount? That means the extras, the medical aid and the overtime that's not been paid. Is it 100% of them?
No, all our members, including those who are not our members, all the workers, they were not paying full. That's all. We are overtime, we are standby allowance, we are medical, we are pension funds, all those, they were not paid.
Okay, what can you do next? I mean, they made promises. I mean, do you buy into their promises?
That's why we decided, because we're doubting that, we decided to be outside demonstrating until they pay our money in total. Our members need their monies.
Is there any degree of sympathy with the municipality that, in fact, they really don't have the money? The fact that government had to apply for a budget increase shows you that there's a shortage of money in the treasury, and it filters all the way down to local government. I mean, is that an issue that you have, empathy for, that you have some sympathy for, to say actually they really don't have the money? People don't pay rates and taxes at local government, and therefore then the municipalities don't have money.
No. Definitely, in a broader scale, we will refer to the issue of austerity measures that are affecting everyone. But we know how stable Nkomazi was, better than other municipalities in the province that are still paying. The problem in that municipality is leadership. The issue of outsourcing every work, most of the work that used to be done by workers is very expensive. I must tell you, you must do your own research as media. Employers, municipalities nowadays, they're outsourcing everything, and it comes at a high cost. That's why they don't have money today. If they can cut the issue of outsourcing of services, the in-source services, this will go very low. We understand the issue of the national dynamics relating to the austerity, whereby Treasury is cutting allocations and so on. But there's mismanagement, of funds is a problem.
How do you think this is all going to end?
The issue is to change. The leadership must change. There must be that kind of leadership that is ethical, and they must at least try to monitor. You recall that the municipal manager resigned in that municipality. And his resignation, he was not working alone. There were people that were supervising him, actually, including the council, the mayor, the mayoral. What was their duties? This thing happens under their watch.
Okay.
Did not see it coming.
That's what we're going to do now. We should be chatting, in fact, to the representative from the local municipality. So Sam Lekuleni, thank you for your time. You may actually want to stay on and just listen to the conversation. Let me bring in then. In fact, we'll do it right away, right? Let's bring in then Nkomazi's local municipality workers. We're going to get that perspective now from the local municipality spokesperson. That's Imbuzo Malale. Imbuzo, appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, my brother, and good afternoon to Mr. Lekuleni.
Thank you. I take it you've heard Mr. Lekuleni's thoughts. Is he right, what he's saying, that a sizable amount of workers, just about all, they didn't get paid the medical aspect and the overtime, and it applies to just about all of them, but the big bosses all got paid, and the reason that they didn't get paid is because the municipality has said they don't have the money?
Can I put it categorically clear to say the issue of third parties, the deadline of paying third parties is the 7th of every month. So if we happen to miss payment on the date, definitely by the 7th of every month we pay, and it's being paid to everyone on behalf of everyone. What happened yesterday night when they were processing the salaries, overtime of our good selves and your traveling claims and stuff like that were not processed because of financial constraints. Remember, the 30th of June is the end of financial year, and the 1st of July we are beginning a new financial year where we will be getting an allocation from National Treasury.
Okay, and we hear that because I think the issue of National Treasury is something we discussed earlier, but I'm looking at for the confirmation that at this point in time, are you saying that monies owed to them in June was not paid to them because you don't have the money and you can only get the money in the new fiscal when you get monies next month? But that means for now, there will be monies owed to workers that will not be paid to them. Is that correct?
Yeah, what is correct is the money owed to workers because they were expecting it. But what the third party is, I would like us to leave them out because the deadline of paying them is only the 7th. We don't normally pay them on the exact date. But by the 7th of every month, we should have paid your medical aid, your pension, and the like, your third parties actually. But now what we managed to pay is the salary based on the contract of each and every employer that he or she signed when it started embarking on work. With the issue of salary and the claims, I think that there are two different things. Incentives and the other one is salary. Then the salary has been paid to everyone, and to say councillors were paid the amount in full, councillors, they don't work overtime. Their contract is stipulated to say they are supposed to be paid this so much money, and they received that much money.
So lastly, why do you think
the unfortunate part is that the employees, including myself, we didn't get that money because the allocation, the reserves were kind of not gonna cover that everything, but they were going to cover the salaries in full, except for the overtimes and the other incentives.
All right, I want to find out why are they then considering picketing in the first place. We'll do that right after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer,
Think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Every murder has a moment when it could have been stopped. Countdown to Murder takes you inside the chilling timeline from ordinary days to unthinkable crimes. Real stories, real people, and the final hours before everything fell apart. Countdown to Murder. Every second tells a story. Thursdays at 9 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, let's get back then to the conversation we've been having with the representative, the spokesperson, in fact, from the Nkomazi local municipality. The context of that is that many of the workers in that region in Mpumalanga are not being paid. They've been paid their basic, but nothing in terms of their overtime allocation and nothing in terms of their medical cover, their third-party payments. According to them, and by and large, Mbuso Malele agreeing that, in fact, yes, they don't have the money now, but they will have it in July, and some of it, the commitment is to be paid by the 7th, right? Why do you think then, Mbuso, that, I understand that the SAMWU, their representatives are speaking to your management right now, and they, the plan is to pick it. Why do you think they would do that then?
The thing is, it was a trend to pay everything at once, and unfortunately this time around it caught us off guard, because it's just like when you're buying a stationery for a child. You don't budget for 4 erasers because you don't know how much she's gonna wrong. The thing is, when it comes to the overheads of your overtime and stuff like that, it's not very, very easy to budget, because a number of the chunk of the budget is taken by overtime. But in terms of the basic salaries and everything, that's why we managed to pay everyone.
Okay, but I'm just saying, because I'm not clear on this, why do you think then that the workers are disgruntled even now? That means there's a lack of communication because they are meeting with management and the plan is to go back to the picket lines. Why do you think they're doing that?
Actually, management met with the workers on Monday at the Mhlusha Stadium to address that issue, because it's a trend, but it's not something that is obligatory. If you can go to other institutions and even the other provincial government, your claims and everything are paid separately from the salary, because they are not a salary.
Okay.
So the disgruntlement comes from that we were used to get this chunk and we always budgeted on it, of which is an unfortunate part, and we regret that it happened this time around.
Okay. Is there any final point you would like to share, not only to us, but certainly the workers that represent, that are from SAMWU and others who have not been paid? Any final point you'd like to bring up?
Yes, what we can share is that it's not the will of the institution to make employees unhappy and the like. It means that little that we could afford was spent, and immediately after the 1st of July, when we receive the allocation for 25-26, we'll be in a position to pay what is due to everyone, because they've already worked for it and they deserve it, and the managers and everyone have signed and authorized that they work for that overtime and those standby shifts and allowances.
Now,
so the thing is, if the perimeters allows this, then that's where it could be. More than that, there's nothing that we can do, because even if we can go for borrowing, it doesn't make sense to go and borrow, knowing very well that in the next 2 days or so we will be getting an allocation. And based on the contract that I signed, between me and my employer, there was no issue of overtime. Overtime is just that it was it's a trend that we got used to it in such a way that it's quite difficult to understand that the two separate issues.
Okay. Can you, just to conclude then, can you guarantee that those monies outstanding will be paid to the workers on the 7th of July?
The acting municipal manager said it verbatim to say come the 4th of July, everyone will get what is due to him or her in terms of your overtime and your expenses. And by the 7th, your third parties will be paid in full. And then we go forward. What we can plead with my colleagues is to understand the situation, not to say someone is depriving them our money deliberately. No, it's not. That's not the cause.
Okay, let's leave it at that. I appreciate your time. That is Imbuzo Malela, the Nkomazi local municipality spokesperson. And before that, we heard from the Samwu, the provincial secretary in that region, that's Sem Lekuleni. It's all about the workers not being paid their allocation for medical aid and for overtime. But the promise is they'll get it in next month, 7th of July. Why not? Why they're not being paid? Because there's just no money. Right, let's talk about that development in New York after this.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. SAFM.
Right, I alluded to that earlier on, and I thought just listen to this. So we're talking about Zohran Mamdani. So his father lectured, and I think that's UCT, is for a good few years here. So that's why he moved from Kenya to South Africa and then en route to the USA. Anyway, he's now on the Democratic vote candidature to stand for mayor of the city of New York. For all intents and purposes, according to those who know, is that he will actually become the mayor. But I don't want to talk about that. That will happen when it happens. I just want you to listen to this in terms of what he said about his role and his father's role on the journey to activism, the type of activism that perhaps may be lacking in the world right now.
And so, to quote the words of a famous New Yorker, allow me to reintroduce myself. I was born in Kampala, Uganda, in East Africa. I was given my middle name Kwame by my father, who named me after the first Prime Minister of Ghana. And decades ago, in Uganda, we won our independence from the British in 1962. We can clap for that. And when we did, the United States government gave the Ugandan government 23 scholarships as a gift for independence. And my father won one of those scholarships. He came to this country to study to be an engineer at the University of Pittsburgh. And sometime into his studies, his face buried in his book, he heard the words reverberate in the corridor around him, "Which side are you on? Which side are you on?" These were words being sung by members of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, recruiting students to get on the bus to go to Montgomery, Alabama. And my father got on that bus. He marched. He was hosed down. He was thrown in jail. He was given one phone call. And he called the Ugandan ambassador to the United States. He said, "Can you get me out of jail?" The ambassador said, "What are you doing in jail? We sent you there to study." My father said, "You sent me here as a gift for our freedom. They are fighting for theirs. It's one and the same." And so I was raised with this understanding that freedom and the fight for it is interconnected. And as I look across this city today, I am reminded that freedom is only worth as much as our ability to exercise it. Because we hear politicians of the past come on stages across this city, including this one, saying that they believe this is the greatest city in the world. But they do not answer the question that Dr. King posed decades ago. What good is having the right to sit at a lunch counter if you can't afford to buy a hamburger? What good is being the greatest city in the world if New Yorkers can't afford to live here? What good is it if our own people cannot afford their rent, their childcare, their groceries, even $2.90 for their Metro card? What good is that but making a museum of what once was in the city that we love?
And if I can just pick up on that and localize it to South Africa, perhaps you could be saying, because I hear this every single day on this show, what good is it that we have the best constitution in the world, but the constitution is unable to give meaning to the expression of a better life for all? Just think about that. It's 4:30. Here's the news headlines.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the insufficient expenditure by municipalities and provinces of their budgets destroys public trust in government. And Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero has survived a vote of no confidence against him. The DA brought the motion accusing the mayor of leading a dysfunctional and deteriorating city during his more than 10 months in office. And an Australian journalist has won an unfair dismissal case against the national broadcaster ABC after she was sacked for a social media post on Gaza. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound queuing towards Boysons, the N3 southbound in Alexandra queuing towards London Road, the R55 southbound in Centurion has a crash reported at the N14 highway, and the N3 northbound in Bedfordview, a stationary bus before Giluli's interchange. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a crash after Spaghetti Junction, the M4 northbound queuing towards Virginia Airport, and the M7 St. John's Avenue is queuing through Central Pinetown. The N3 is queuing on the link to the N2 north at Spaghetti Junction. In Cape Town, heavy rain across the greater Cape Town area, surface water and flooding dangers. Motorists are urged to allow extra travel time and to proceed with caution. The M5 southbound queuing towards Milner Road, Strandfontein Road southbound is flooding reported near Artery Road, and Voortrekker Road eastbound has heavy traffic in that central Maitland area. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Chumi, you've got team news that does concern Sundowns and their supporters.
Yeah, Mamelodi Sundowns striker Lebo Mothiba is a doubt for tonight's clash against Fluminense in the final FIFA Club World Cup Group F encounter. Mothiba appeared to have suffered a muscle injury in the Borussia Dortmund game as he continues to fight his way back to fitness after months on the sidelines with a knee injury.
Unfortunately, he got injured in the last match. I think that those kind of incidents happen. I don't know if you saw, but yesterday there's also, I think, in the match between Inter Miami and Palmeiras, there's also a defender from Palmeiras that has a similar injury. At least the mechanical action seems similar. But, you know, I was entering the stadium and watching the F1 track around, and I was thinking that when you drive in high speed, the possibility of having an accident is bigger. And these players, they play in high speed, and sometimes accidents can happen. But we don't expect that. The question of motive is a big thing. It's not a big thing. Let's see if he can play the match or no. Not yet clear that he cannot play.
Well, Sundowns need victory to seal a place in the round of 16 of the FIFA Club World Cup as they sit third in Group F, 1 point behind the Brazilians who sit top ahead of Borussia Dortmund. And just to make things clear, Ashraf, because I think people think when I say the Brazilians, they're thinking I'm talking about Sundowns, but here I'm talking about Fluminense.
So if you say the Brazilians have got 1 point and they need a win to qualify, and you also say the Brazilians have got to watch.
No, I'm not even calling Mamelodi Sundowns the Brazilians.
No, but if you do say that, you wouldn't be wrong either.
Yeah,
they
true.
played the Brazilians.
Yeah.
The Brazilians will win. Unless it's a draw, then the Brazilians will draw.
You know, I wouldn't be lying. But let's look at football on the goal that clash between Orbit College and Cape Town City. And it seems like Orbit College have 1 foot in the Betway Premiership as they're leading 1-0 over Cape Town City. This is 77 minutes inside the game. The Northwest side is currently top of the playoff mini league with 5 points after 3 matches, while City are second with 2 points from 2 games. And if they win today, they will definitely have points that the other teams won't be able to catch up on. Meanwhile, the South African Football Association has insisted that they will go ahead with the ABC Motsepe League national playoffs next week. This is despite pending legal standoffs. The national playoffs is set to take place from the 1st to the 6th of July in Tsakane, with 5 of the 4 provinces still awaiting outcomes of their legal challenges. However, SAFA Competitions Committee Chairperson Kwenya Ngwenya says that the legal outcomes will have no bearing on their program as they proceeded with the competition draw yesterday.
The games will continue. If you go to our rules, are empowering us now as competitions committee that if we feel that games should continue without cases, we will continue. In fact, we are empowered by the rules and regulations of this league.
Well, in athletics, world indoor champion Prudence Khodiso improved her personal best as she won the women's 800 meter at the Golden Spike at the Czech Republic last night. Khodiso led from the start to win at 1 minute 57.16 seconds, a meet record that was 0.1 seconds lower than her previous best from last year. In cricket, Australian captain Pat Cummins says that Cameron Green is the long-term option to bat at number 3 for the side. This is after naming his side for today's opening test against the West Indies. Green scored only 4 runs and faced just 5 balls in the World Test Championship final defeat against South Africa this month. This is after being elevated to come in at the fall of the first wicket. But Cummins says that Green would retain his place in the batting order with Josh Inglis at the number 4, while Steve Smith recovers from a finger injury. And before I go, Ashraf, actually talking about cricket, Cricket South Africa today announced a first where they're going to face, or the Proteas men and women are going to face New Zealand men and women. But the interesting thing about it is that the Proteas women are going to play earlier, and then on the very same day, the Proteas men are playing.
So this can't be test cricket. There's going to be what, 10, 20 over
It's T20,
cricket?
yeah. It's T20.
So on the set, will they use the same pitch?
Yes, the same
just to
venue,
understand, I mean,
yes.
sometimes you can play the same venue, but you play on the pitch alongside it. That means, just slide up. Either way, but they're going to play
It's
at the
going to
same
be at
stadium.
the same venue, yeah. Same stadium, and it's a 5-match series from the 15th to the 25th of March. It's going to be in New Zealand, unfortunately, but I think it's going to be interesting.
I think that could be the way to go for the future.
Right?
Like a regular thing.
Yeah. Proteas women first and then the Proteas men afterwards.
Only thing, those who need to go to the toilet during the break will have no toilet break. How are they going to cope? I don't know. I do know that one of the very first T20 games we went to, and as my nephew was with us, so during the innings break, it's like, okay, during the innings break, I'll go and get a chow, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is, by the time he came back, there were 8 overs gone of the 20 remaining. Because it
how-
took that long. So now you know you can't do that.
I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
Is there ever a bad time for a good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
We're going to actually get to speak to Kennedy Wandera, a broadcaster from Kenya, to give us an update on the protest, the 1-year anniversary of the protest in Kenya, and the media ban from that region, right? But let's get to the monies for the moment with Paswane Impatlele, the Senior Accounts Manager from Macquarie Fund Managers. Good to connect with you, Paswane. We've got local and global news, but first we start with First Rand.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Yes, First Rand, they gave us a trading update for the year end in June. The guys remain well positioned to deliver positive results. It was reported that they actually expect improvement in performance across the group thanks to loans and deposit growth, with the likes of the small medium enterprise loans actually having good momentum behind it. Vehicle finance doing well. Their net interest income is slightly better due to the Africa and UK regions doing well. Their credit performance remains at the lower end of their long-term averages, reflecting good risk management. So we'll wait on the final full results to get those details better. When we get into that market, we were faced with an end of a broader risk rally, equity rally, at the end of quarter 2, as the key stocks have been overbought, especially when you think of tech stocks in the US, at the back of the fact that in the Middle East there has been some sense of peace. There's been a dovish Fed that has been read off by market participants, and this has helped the dollar to hit new lows around 97.3, but has rebounded as it realigns its relationship with the likes of oil prices that are up 2.2% at $67.97 a barrel, keeping inflation risk elevated in the future, and gold prices are sitting flat at $3,320 an ounce, still bullish and supported by the upcoming interest rate cuts. And also when you think of the risk factors such as the tariff risks that are coming in July, especially when we put it to narrow it down to the likes of EU, who might retaliate 2028 if it takes place. Bond markets agree with such a sentiment as they've been breaking down as they've seen increased in investment appetite on growth concerns. Globally, we see U.S. indexes such as the Nasdaq up 0.4, S&P up 0.1, Dow lags, Europe DAX CAC down 0.5, Fuji down 0.3. And when we bring it home here, JSE, there's disruptions of flows in the end of the quarter. JSE is down 0.6, financials down 1.6 in the biggest dragger, industrials and resource sector down 0.2. When we bring into the currency space, the rand, yes, has been benefiting from the weaker rand, but with its quick rebound recently, we're seeing rand at 17.81 against the dollar, 20.66 against the euro, and 24.24 against the pound.
Okay, got that. Perfect. We'll connect with you again tomorrow. And don't forget, there's a full hour of understanding the markets with Jimmy Moyaha from 6 to 7 tonight, as it is every single weekday.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
I hope you're downloading the podcast that we have. You know, we have podcasts that you can pick up, sfm.coza, but also, because you'll find it there, but also we tweet it out on the X platform as well as on Facebook very shortly after we do the interview. So please listen to it, download it, connect it with your friends, share that with them, and have conversations about it. And one of the conversations perhaps you should be having is this, right? What's the state of your local municipality? I don't mean national, local. Like, we know that on this show, The National Pulse, on SAFM, we broadcast around the country. So there are people from big metropolitan areas like Johannesburg and Cape Town and Durban listening, but there are also many others from smaller towns and dorpies all around the country. What's the state of your local municipality? I mean, seriously, I just want to know, based upon your own understanding of it all. Nothing, we don't need like intelligent remarks, just simple. This is what I think, and this is why I think what I think, right? Okay, and if that's the case, I'd like to hear from you. You can WhatsApp us, voice note or text. You can call in live as always, and you can tweet it out too, right? Now, having said that, let's talk about Gauteng province, right? So, you know, earlier this year, the Gauteng provincial government roped in the Special Investigating Unit to conduct lifestyle audits on heads of departments, supply chain management officials, and other senior members in high-risk roles. Well, today we got the news that the Gauteng Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, gave us an update on the outcomes of these lifestyle audits. So what came out of it? Firstly, the Premier shared what the Gauteng Provincial Government Forensic Investigation Report, sort of what it entailed, what is it made up of?
These reports from multiple departments cover a range of investigations, including the alleged abuse of state resources, irregular and unauthorized expenditure, theft, unfair labor practices, ghost employees, procurement irregularities, suspected fraud, human resource irregularities, assault and death threats, corruption and others amongst the reports that we are releasing today. The breakdown of these reports per department are as follows. Today, we are releasing 16 reports from the Department of Health, 7 reports from the Department of Social Development, 7 reports from the Department of Community Safety, 4 reports from the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, 3 reports from the Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation, 2 reports from the Department of Roads and Transport, 2 reports from Treasury, 2 reports from the Department of Human Settlement, and 1 report each from the following offices: Department of Education, eGov, Treasury, another one from Education, and 1 report from the Office of the Premier.
So here's a big question from the Premier. Well, how much money was lost due to financial misconduct only in the last quarter? Listen to this.
Of 3,448,000 rand. 3,448,000 rand was lost due to financial misconduct, with 2,039,000 rands recovered. This means that almost 60% of the value lost through fraud and corruption was recovered by the Gauteng Provincial Department in the last quarter. Overall, based on these 47 reports, approximately 88 people have faced consequence management and 55 cases have been registered with law enforcement agencies and are currently with the law enforcement agencies. This reflects GPG's commitment to accountability. The GPG calls on all stakeholders, including civil society and the media, to engage with these reports responsibly and support the province's mission to foster a culture of integrity and openness.
Okay, and then just by the way, the Premier said that the MECs will implement the recommendations of the Gauteng Provincial Report. So we understand that lots more to come out of that too, and I welcome your comments too. But let's get to Kenya. We need to understand what's happening there.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Nelson Mandela once said, "There can be no greater gift than that of giving one's time and energy to helping others without expecting anything in return."
What's your Mandela Day game plan this year? Why not lace up those sneakers and hit the ground running at our annual Mandela Day Walk and Run on July 19th at the DP World Wanderers Stadium, Ilovo. You can walk 5Ks, run 10 and 21Ks, and still have enough energy to have fun. It's a whirlwind of fun and laughter, all for a fantastic cause. Every cent goes to support the excellent work of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Enter on mandeladay.com or register for the virtual race on fundnation.org/Nelson Mandela. See you there.
The National Arts Festival is back. South Africa's biggest celebration of the arts is on. From the 26th of June to the 6th of July, Makhanda becomes the stage for South Africa's boldest theatre, dance, music, arts, comedy, and more. Experience the creative energy, markets, exhibitions, and many surprises. It's where the country comes to create and the world takes notice. Browse the program and book now at nationalartsfestival.co.za. Own it, celebrate it, be there. The Morning Brief.
Why, in your view, do we continue to see incidents of alleged and actual racism in schools?
I think most children, if we're talking about the racism from children, and let's remember it's not only from the children or the learners, reflects what they are hearing at home. Children don't just do what their parents say. So if their parents say, don't do this, don't use those words, don't say that. But if they actually hear their parents and see their parents behaving in a racist way, then that's the way that they are going to behave themselves.
That's Teresa Oakley-Smith, who is founder and CEO of the transformation and consultancy firm Diversity.
Tulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
So you may remember a year ago there were huge protests in Kenya, right? And effectively to commemorate those protests and hold government to account once again, people came out or have come out in the numbers in the streets of some of the Kenyan cities today. And linked to that, particularly in Nairobi, right? And linked to that has been a clampdown from the government that none of the protests can be covered on the television station. So effectively the type of blackout that we know back home in South Africa here that is not expected. It's unheard of. We don't accept it. So what does this really mean, right, for that country? Kennedy Wandera with me, who's an international broadcaster from Kenya. We've had many chats on the Twitter Twitter Spaces many times, Kennedy. But good to connect with you here on the National Pulse on SAFM Radio.
Thank you so much, Ashraf, for inviting me.
Well, hopefully more of the same, right? First of all, give me some context here. What was the protest about last year? Firstly,
the protest last year was about Kenya young people saying they are completely detached from the decision making by the government of Kenya, and they wanted to have President William Ruto drop the controversial finance bill, which they indicated that was imposing more punitive taxes on them, and therefore it was necessary that the government drops the tax bill. But then the government, as much as it dropped that particular bill, which also led then to the reshuffle in the cabinet, the young people felt like the government was not listening to them because they wanted to be part of the decision making. They thought the government was overspending, and just bringing in more taxes was going to make their lives more difficult. So that was the case then.
Okay, and I take it those protests, because I remember speaking to some people, the younger people, that they were widespread in terms of support. How did it end, and what happened then to their demands? I'm going back a year ago now, firstly.
Yeah, the net effect of the protests by the young people in 2024 last year was what we can refer to as the overhaul of the government. The President Ruto was forced to break the usual faces that he had in government and brought in new faces in his government.
And I think we may have just lost that connection with Kennedy. There's been a problem, I understand, with many of the broadcast units and media coming out of Kenya for the same reason that we battled earlier on, and that there's been certainly a clampdown, certainly on live television coverage and other visuals in that region. Let's see if we can connect with Kennedy ASAP. I think it's very important. In the meantime, your thoughts on the play to remove the sitting mayor of Joburg from his position today, which ultimately was unsuccessful, but just your thoughts in terms of what that means. The other one I asked you about whether you have any thoughts on, well, basically the state of your local municipality, your local town council. Just what's it like? I mean, I don't mean like a one word. I mean, just tell me what's it like in terms of where you are, right? We do have Kennedy Wandera back with us, right? We just lost you for a moment when I asked you about, so in terms of the demands then, what came out of it? Perhaps just repeat that bit again.
Yeah, the young people said they want changes in government, and part of the change was that the government must drop the controversial finance bill, and two, that the government must listen to the young people, or else they came up with a clarion call of saying Ruto must go. So then the government was forced to reshuffle the cabinet, brought in the opposition leader Raila Odinga, and the government was a little bit stabilized. But then, even though the government announced austerity measures in government on how it expends the funds, the young people feel the government did not listen, and that's why we are seeing what is happening today.
Okay, so 1 year later, is today's protests, are they a reflection of solidarity for what happened a year ago, or in fact, is it another push to try and push through the demands of a year ago?
This is they're marking the anniversary of the protest that we had in June 2024. But also remember what came out of that protest. We had young people who lost lives. Some of them were killed by the police, and these families are still mourning. The government had promised that it's going to support the families. But of recent, we've seen police also using excesses on protesters, and therefore this particular protest, as much as they're marking 1 year anniversary of the anti-government protests of last year, they are also being done with a clarion call to end police brutality and senseless killings. But of course, the clarion message still remains with the young people that Ruto must go.
Right. What about then the mass clampdown on the mass media in terms of covering the protests today?
Yeah, the government has taken an unprecedented stage of pulling off air television and radio stations in the country. And even though this is it's illegal from the media point of view, because there was a High Court ruling that restrained the government from interfering with the television programs under the guise of content regulation, because the government then is saying that this hampers the national security. But the High Court in Kenya said this is null and void, and therefore indicated that the regulation of the content was a reserve in the duty of the Media Council of Kenya and not the Communication Authority of the Kenyan government. So a number of media organizations have indicated that they've been their transmission sites have been pulled off. They've been pulled off air, and now the country has been plunged in darkness. So they have resorted to broadcasting on online the content online, YouTube and other social media sites. But then those who get information through the set boxes are not able to, from the closet of their homes, they are not able to get news as it is at the moment.
And what is, so one, you're saying it's against the law, and the High Court ruling just confirms that. But has there been any reaction from, say, the obvious one, the African Union, for example, on this clampdown on media freedom?
No, we've not had any communication from the African Union. What we've just seen is independent media houses coming out, as well as the Kenya Media Sector Working Group and the Eastern Africa Editors Guild, saying that this is wrong, this is illegal, and media houses must disobey that kind of order.
Where do you think finally, this is all going to end in terms of the demands of young people in a vibrant country, in a strategically key position in the world, I would think, on the African continent, and clearly a leader who's unwilling to listen to them, and certainly that's what comes across. How is this going to end, and where will it end?
I think it's difficult for the president because he has already spoken, saying that Kenyans must realize that they have a country, and if anything goes wrong, there's nowhere they can run to. Telling Kenyans that even if they protest, they must not destroy property, they must not destroy the peace that the country and the tranquility that the country has had for all those years. But then young people are saying, you must listen to us. You must listen to us. And this also is you remember, Ashraf, we had some sort of protest in Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, and these are some of the issues that are coming up now and then, especially around young people who are saying we need to be listened to. You cannot continue placing punitive taxes, and you're making our lives difficult because we've had, like, for instance, in Kenya, we've had a huge challenge of young people who are every year in thousands graduating from universities, but when they get to the job market, they cannot get job opportunities. But on the flip side, we have members of parliament and other state officers who are paid huge amount of money. So when young people see these guys are being paid a lot of money, but young people have no jobs in the job market, then it becomes difficult for even them to survive. And that's why they're saying, you have to listen to us, otherwise it's going to be difficult for you. So where President Ruto finds himself now is quite in a difficult position. He has to create jobs, but at the same time, he has to listen to young people. And if nothing changes until he plays out his 5 years, I think it's going to continue being difficult for him until he begins to initiate policies that are going to be consistent with the demands of the young people.
All right, we're coming up to news time, so maybe short answer on this one. And these young people who are protesting, who protested then and who are protesting now, are they protesting on party political lines or other ideological lines, or do they all have just one thing in common, that they're young Kenyans with no ideological partisanship amongst each other?
No ideological party lines at the moment. The political leaders try to come to the streets, but they overwhelmed, they ran away. So the young people have been on the streets since morning until now. So that tells you these are young people who are completely detached from political affiliations, and they are doing it for their own good and saying, we are not being mobilized or organized by any political leaders, and therefore for us, our message is just consistent. The way it was last year, it is the same message, that we are detached from political affiliations, and the issues that we are demanding must be met by the government.
Oh, to be young is what they say, right? Kennedy Wandera, much appreciate your time. International broadcaster from Kenya, thanks for your insights here today on what is the national pulse. It's very much the continental pulse today as well. So thank you for your input, right? Let's get to the news now. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. Ramaphosa bemoans insufficient expenditure and Joburg Mayor survives a vote of no confidence. Good day to you. The insufficient expenditure by municipalities and provinces of their budgets destroys public trust in government. That's the response given by President Cyril Ramaphosa when he was answering questions in the National Council of Provinces. He was asked if government has started assessing the impact of the inadequate spending of allocations to provinces and municipalities.
It also erodes public trust in the state's ability to improve the livelihood of our citizens and exacerbates service delivery protests. The inability of many municipalities to spend their capital budget is often the result of poor management, poor planning, and weak implementation capacity, and inadequate financial and supply chain management. National government itself continues to engage directly with provinces and our municipalities.
The Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero survived a vote of no confidence against him. The DA brought the motion accusing him of leading a dysfunctional and deteriorating city during his more than 10 months in office. Action SA abstained and did not vote on the motion. Johannesburg Council Speaker Nabuhle Mthembu read out the votes.
The results are as follows. The councillors who abstained from this voting process, 43. The yeses, 75. The noes, 144. The motion does not pass.
The Johannesburg Council Chief Whip, Sithembiso Zungu, also survived a motion of no confidence vote against him. 179 councillors voted against the motion, with 69 in favour. 6 councillors abstained. Police say they have arrested 100 suspects for rape and 16 for attempted rape across the country in the past week. Police spokesperson Vincent Mukati.
Most of these arrests were recorded in Gauteng with 25. Police also arrested 67 wanted rape suspects tracked down in various provinces, highlighting the SAP's unwavering commitment to tackling gender-based violence and femicide.
Cape Town Disaster Risk Management continues to respond to weather-related incidents with reports of localised flooding in a number of areas, including Parkwood, Lotus Park, Klipfontein Road, Polar Park, Hangberg and Overcome Heights, among others. The centre's spokesperson, Sonika Lateghan, says fallen trees and storm debris have also been reported in Blue Downs, Constantia, Blackheath, Sunningdale and Belleville.
There's also widespread flooding on the roads, and at least 2 canals have overflowed. We ask members of the public to please steer clear of waterways or flooded areas, as it can compromise their safety. Fallen trees and debris have been reported in a number of areas. The Recreation and Parks Department has been activated to attend to these, while the roads and stormwater teams are working to clear flooded roadways where feasible.
An Australian journalist has won her unfair dismissal case against the national broadcaster, the ABC, after she was sacked for a social media post on Gaza. The ABC argued her post breached its editorial policy. The BBC's Will Leonardo has more.
Antoinette Lattouf was working as a stand-in radio presenter when she reposted a report accusing Israel of war crimes. The judge in her unfair dismissal case said this had induced a state of panic among ABC executives, who decided within the hour that she would be taken off air. Ms. Lattouf, who's of Lebanese origin, alleged she was removed because of lobbying from pro-Israel groups. Her case caused outrage in Australia. ABC has now apologised, saying it let down staff and audiences. The judge, who awarded Ms. Lattouf damages worth $45,000, said the Gaza war had become the most covered, contested and controversial news story in the world.
Top story: the insufficient expenditure by municipalities and provinces of their budgets destroys public trust in government. So says President Cyril Ramaphosa. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Gus.
In sports this hour, Orbit College promoted to the Betway Premiership, and in the business of sport, we talk player wages and salaries. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N4 westbound in Pretoria has delays towards the N1 highway and the N3 southbound in Edenville, queuing towards Modderfontein Road. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a stationary truck before Spaghetti Junction, and South Coast Road has truck congestion reported between the M7 highway and Bayhead Road, so expect delays. In Cape Town, the R300 southbound queuing towards Stock Road and the M5 southbound slow moving towards Racecourse Road exit. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.1 FM in Johannesburg.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
What if you open your night to culture? Try new things and make space for new voices, new stories, and new perspectives. Open up your Saturday night with world-class entertainment, reality TV, and drama from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This Youth Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit, power, and potential of young South Africans. Join us as we dive into conversations that matter, from innovation to education and skills for the changing world. Empowering youth for meaningful economic participation. Because at SAFM, we're not just talking, we're leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Right, 1 hour is a long time in the world of politics, isn't it? Earlier on, we chatted to Neria Hlakotsa, the SABC News reporter, and we spoke about the motion to remove the Dada Morero as the Joburg mayor. That motion failed. There was another motion on the table to remove the speaker. Let's get up to date with that story. Neria Hlakotsa, once again, good to connect with you on clearly a significant day in Joburg politics.
Definitely a very significant day, especially for what happened here in the city of Johannesburg when we look at the motion of no confidence against the speaker, the motion that was brought by Al Jama. 212 votes were in support of the motion, and then 48 were against. And in fact, no one abstained from this voting for this motion. So basically, that was one of the big things that just came out now. So what we know is that the City of Johannesburg Council has no speaker. And now what needs to happen is that the acting city manager will have to convene another sitting where a speaker will be elected. We're still unsure when that would happen, but we are told it has to happen within 14 days.
Give us some context in terms of why, maybe just go a step back. Why was there a motion to remove the mayor, and by whom? And why was there a motion to remove the speaker, and by whom? You mentioned Al Jamal, but what was the reasoning behind that?
Look, Aljama is saying that, the Speaker has failed to maintain the integrity of the Council, and they feel that the Speaker is very compromised because, of course, we know that she comes from Action SA, and they believe that the party has been acting rogue, and ultimately the Speaker has found herself having to defend the indefensible, and they believe that the Council itself now is in tatters under her watch, and she should not be a Speaker. And of course, 212 people agreed to that, and now she was ousted. But Action SA was even saying that this motion against the Speaker is very frivolous. For them, they feel like it's more political. You save my mayor, and then I remove a Speaker type of politics. So they feel that the parties involved are paying each other off for their own benefit. But yeah, so essentially it's most parties believing that she's compromised and could never be fair and will always remain biased, especially because of the party that she comes from. One ANC councillor even said that you will be punished for the sins of your father. And that is exactly what we saw here with the Speaker.
So do I take it then? I mean, Action SA, who then abstained for the motion to remove the mayor of Joburg, but abstained, not supported, although they, on the one hand, right, then were effectively punished for that, because for the Speaker to be removed, you would have to have had the support. Well, Aljama is one thing, but that means the ANC was a key player in removing Action SA's Speaker. And who else amongst the other parties would have supported that motion?
Essentially, because we also had the economic freedom fighters supporting the motion. We also had parties such as the ACDP also supporting the motions. We saw a myriad of, especially all the government of local unity parties, they supported this motion to remove the Speaker. And most of them are saying mainly it's because the party, which is Action SA, has been going against resolutions of the government of local unity. Every decision that it takes, Action SA will go its own way. They were even mentioning issues like passing the budget. Action SA did not vote in favor. So they are saying it's such actions that they are seeing that Action SA will never work properly will never want to make sure that council operates properly. Instead, they will always want to find a way to gain in this whole unity or in this whole governance, and they believe that Action SA is failing to put governance first, and instead they are putting their party beliefs before the people of Johannesburg, and that's why the parties were saying here that Speaker Nobushe has to go. Even parties like AIC, the smaller parties, were saying she would have to go, just mainly because of her party and how her party conducts itself in council.
Just lastly, is there another motion being tabled too?
No, now we are done. Remember, we had the mayor, we had the chief whip, and then we had the Speaker. The chief whip did survive the motion. Of course, it was brought also by the DA, but parties did not vote in favor of the DA. And then obviously the Speaker is gone now, and the mayor also survived. So all the motions are done for the day.
And to end with, I mean, who for you would see as the big winners and the big losers on today's Joburg vote?
It's really difficult to say. But when you look at everything, one would say the ANC did manage to win because they managed to secure their own mayor. They also managed to secure their own chief whip, who is also an ANC councillor. So you can see they are the biggest winner. And the biggest losers, one would argue that they are indeed Action SA. As we speak, they don't have a speaker position. One of the most positions that were important here in this council, they've had to lose that today. And the party had said that they are willing to lose it, but for them, obviously, this is not a good day for Action SA.
Okay, got that. Not a good day for Action SA. Effectively put out of action for now. Much appreciate your time, Neria Klakotsa, the SABC News reporter covering that story in the council chambers, I would think, in the city of Johannesburg. Reaction from you? Yes, of course. Let's hear you. You're on the pulse.
Call us on 086 000 2032. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Now, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa pronounced today on the critical challenges that youth face, particularly around unemployment. Listen to this. Okay, we'll just connect with that in a moment. There's just some serious connectivity issues that we're facing right now. We'll get to that in just a second. But yes, tell me what you think about, for you, the big losers and the big winners and the city of Joburg. And is this the end of the story? I don't think so. The way it goes on with them, there's like votes of no confidence just every few weeks, if not maybe a few months. So maybe the weeks are exaggerating, but every few months. And, you know, there is a school of thought to say no matter how competent or incompetent the kind of leadership is, they need to let them run their course. There's a local government election coming up in another year's time, because at this point in time, when you're having these constant swapping of chairs, the service delivery suffers completely. So even though they may not be ideal according to you, you could be in a situation where just for now, just stay with it. I wonder if you see it that way too. Let's get back then to President Ramaphosa's comments about the challenges around. In fact, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's get to some of the WhatsApp comments from you. Here's one. Okay, we're just having this connectivity. Let's see if we can get. Yeah.
I think Helen Zille must come and rescue us here at Ekurhuleni. She must come and rescue us here at Ekurhuleni, because this coalition that we have here is not working. We are not seeing any improvements in service delivery. For example, Germiston, where the council sits, where they have their chambers, for 3 weeks, traffic lights are not working. We are battling to drive through Germiston. We spend 2 hours to work and 2 hours trying to get through Germiston. Traffic lights not working for 3 weeks, Ashraf. Thank you.
Well, so Helen Zille must come and rescue the city. You know, like Robin Hood or some like big knight coming and saying, come on, to the rescue, we need this knight. I'm not going to say this knight in shining armor. That's like such a, I don't know, that's a Western image that appears to work. But the bottom line to it is that you are saying you need a savior, and Helen Zille must be that savior. Let's see if we can play another voice note.
Hi, Ashraf and team. I'm disgusted by the sense of entitlement that people have with regards to where Edgar Lungu should be buried. I mean, where do you get the nerve to dictate or to decide where to bury someone simply because they were a head of state? I mean, that's appalling. I'm shocked that people think that they can own someone enough to decide where their families should bury their loved ones. I mean, come on. What has this world come to?
Interesting, that's what you say, the sense of entitlement. Here's another.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ashraf. I just wish the current president of Zambia can just take a back seat and let the family do what they are supposed to do. Because when the former president left the country when he was still alive, he didn't want anything to do with him. Now, why is it that now he's jumping on the bandwagon and wanting to stop the burial of the man? Let the man go home and be buried in peace so that the family will be able to visit their departed one in Zambia, not in our country here.
Okay, you don't think it's a bit more complicated than that? Let's pick up another voice note.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and your team. This is Sakile Ntsugwini from Kamhlabuyalingan. You know, Ashraf, I'm failing to understand why the Zambian government would want to do something that is against the former president's family's will, to the extent that they would seek a court interdict to prevent the family from burying their loved one where they want him to be buried. Thank you.
Okay, that's it. Another comment on that. Right, there's more to come, including, and this is so interesting, but I'll take your calls too. Remember that, right? And again, if you're calling in for the very first time, whether you're in South Africa, maybe you're in New Zealand, I don't know, maybe you're speaking from Samoa, or maybe the USA, like in the early parts of the morning, you know, or wherever you may be, South America. If you are calling in for the very first time, then I want to hear from you. Just tell me who you are and say, hey, first-time caller, so we can give you the necessary welcome. It's like an induction, isn't it, onto the National Pulse. So let me know. But let's get to another issue. You know, if going green is such a big deal, what about the trademarks around going green? We'll talk about that in a moment.
It's a tough day for Mark. Tight deadlines and challenges everywhere. But Mark can rest easy, because when he bought his Hino 700 2845 truck tractor, he received a complimentary service plan covering up to 210,000 kilometers for short haul and up to 280,000 kilometers for long haul. Nice one, Mark. Visit your dealer today to find out more about this limited time offer. Hino, all the way. T's and C's apply.
A stage awaits. Not for applause, but for possibility. For over 40 years, Standard Bank has championed the arts. And at the National Arts Festival, we don't just watch talent rise, we help grow it. Through our Standard Bank Young Artist Winners, raw voices find power, unseen stories take the spotlight, and what begins as a dream grows into a legacy. Join us in Makanda for the festival. Standard Bank, proud lead sponsor of B20 South Africa, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matriek mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bakkie to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
The National Arts Festival is back. South Africa's biggest celebration of the arts is on. From the 26th of June to the 6th of July, Makanda becomes the stage for South Africa's boldest theatre, dance, music, arts, comedy, and more. Experience the creative energy, markets, exhibitions, and many surprises. It's where the country comes to create and the world takes notice. Browse the program and book now at nationalartsfestival.co.za. Own it, celebrate it, be there. You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Okay, let's talk about going green and what that really means from a trademark perspective. What am I saying? So we know there's a global move towards, you know, environmental friendliness, going green in its various forms and iterations. So more companies now start talking about using terms like eco-friendly, green, sustainable, you know, being very on-side regarding all of that, right? But here's a story. Experts, certainly experts in the legal or the trademark space, have warned that these green trademarks can come with some legal and reputational risks. Really? I wonder why. Let's find out. Alyssa Naran with me, a partner at Adams & Adams. Alyssa, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Hi, Ashraf. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So let's get to it. Why would there be pitfalls from companies using, you know, marks like going green when that's what the whole world should be doing anyways, like in order to do good?
So it is a very powerful marketing tool to be able to refer to your products and your businesses as eco-friendly and sustainable. But those words, firstly, are very descriptive, and they should be available to all traders to, you know, refer to their products. So the first stumbling block that businesses face is that they often want to claim a monopoly of words like eco-friendly and sustainable that should be available to everybody to use. And so people have tried to register trademarks like sustainable eco tours. Now that's entirely descriptive for somebody who is offering tour services in an eco-friendly way. And that was refused. So the first thing that you would need to consider is try to figure out A trademark that is suggestive and clever, but that's not outright descriptive. So an example of that would be re-cashmere or re-wool for recycled textiles. Another option for traders would be to file it in a very distinctive logo where you incorporate words like eco-friendly and sustainable. And then a third option to consider is to pair your product with what we call a certification mark, which you're only allowed to use if you meet particular standards. And, the best example of this is SABS approved, because consumers then, see SABS approved and they trust it. So those are options for, businesses to consider when they want to harness the power of these green trademarks, but to do so in a clever way that's also going to give them some kind of monopoly and yet the trustworthiness that you want from a consumer.
Because so here's the thing. We're going back to the original point. There's clearly a massive global movement to be going green, to be pro-sustainable in terms of environmental consciousness, right? So there's nothing wrong in that. You're saying it's the use of the trademark. So does that mean one has to apply for these trademarks, and who then accepts or rejects these trademark uses?
So yes, you would apply with them in the normal way. So you apply to the Registrar of Trademarks in South Africa in particular. Other countries have different bodies that would do the same thing. And so as a first step, it's quite possible for the Registrar of Trademarks to refuse your application because they think that it is descriptive and not capable of, people claiming a monopoly in it. Then, there's also this issue of what we call greenwashing. And the problem with greenwashing is where traders make claims about their products. So they say it's eco-friendly, they say it's sustainable, but they actually have no evidence to prove that it is sustainable.
So they would do so because obviously if I'm environmentally conscious and I'm a shopper, that's just that will appeal to me to say, hey, they're eco-friendly, that's fantastic, buy that. So they're taking advantage of a situation, but in fact what you're saying, their claims are not true, right?
100%.
Okay, what's the recourse against them?
So in those cases, if those statements are untrue, it would be in breach of the Code of Advertising Practice, and consumers could file complaints. Your competitors could also file complaints against you if they think that you are making misleading statements. It contravenes regulations for specific products, especially in the food industry, which is heavily regulated in South Africa. And then it's quite possible for your trademarks, if you're applying for a trademark, to be opposed by competitors who, again, think that you are making misleading statements.
Yeah. So, conversely, those that adhere to the rules, play by the book, and are able to get certified in terms of what they do with the certification mark, how does that boost their credibility? How does that boost their brand image? And very importantly for them, how does it boost their bottom line?
I think it's incredibly important in terms of the brand reputation. It would have a massive impact on the value of the brand. And as consumers, we're all doing our bit to be environmentally conscious, and we want to, use our purchasing power towards products that are green. So that automatically increases your brand value and the bottom line because people will invest in you.
And just the last thing, I hope you have the number. What percentage of South African companies legitimately display a type of, green-friendly mark on their products?
Oh, that would be difficult to say. I don't think that those kinds of stats are readily available. But for the ones that do, incredibly important for them to make sure that what they're saying is true, because if found to be untrue, it's, very harmful to the repute of the brand.
Okay, got that. Appreciate your time. Got us thinking, which is really maybe the purpose of the conversation anyway, maybe thinking green too. Alyssa Naran, partner at Adams and Adams, and they deal in issues like, IP and trademarks, and they do that extensively. So there we are, simply something to consider around that. Still more to come. We have lots of time for you to get your thoughts, because as you know, around every day, around quarter to 4, quarter to 5, quarter to 6, we open the lines to listen to what you have to say. That's in terms of live calls. But also, whenever we can get windows, we listen and we take your voice notes, because your voice matters. And you're on the pulse. And when you're on the pulse, I need to feel you. Let's get the news headlines. It's 5:30. Here's Greg Gross.
A quick look at the headlines. The Johannesburg City Council is without a speaker. The insufficient expenditure by municipalities and provinces of their budgets destroys public trust in government, according to President Ramaphosa. And 2 people have reportedly been shot dead in protests in Kenya. More details on those stories and other news at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Germiston queuing towards Geldenhuys interchange, the N12 R24 westbound in Bedfordview queuing on both routes towards Giluli's interchange, and the N1 northbound in Pretoria has a crash reported near Linwood Road. In KZN, the N3 eastbound queuing towards Key Ridge, the M7 is queuing at the N2 highway, and Chris Hani Road westbound queuing at the N2 highway. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound has flooding reported at Robert Sobukwe Road. The M5 Prince George Drive northbound in Retreat has flooding reported at Joe Marks Boulevard. Beach Road, Royal Road in Maitland is closed between Coburg Road and Voortrekker Road due to flooding, and Belvedere Road southbound in Claremont has flooding reported towards the Imam Haroon Road junction. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The business of sports with Tumi Nkapele.
Right, to me, we know once a week you don't just talk about who scores the goals or the tries and takes the wickets. You talk about the money.
Absolutely. But before that, I need to mention that Orbit College have officially been promoted to the Betway Premiership. This is after beating Cape Town City 1-0 this afternoon. The Rustenburg side are now the first FET college team to play in the PSL's Premier League, and their win takes them to 8 points at the top of the log, while Cape Town City are second, tied on points at 2 with Keswick Stars. It also means that Cape Town City is officially relegated to the Motsepe Foundation Championship. But still staying with football, but just looking at the business side of things, as we know that it's the off season and clubs are busy making moves, buying players for big money, signing some as free agents to strengthen their squads. Now, today on the Business of Sport, we are looking at player salaries and wages. There's a lot of talk about how much clubs are paying to buy players, but the big question is, should we really focus on this? And joining us as always, our weekly expert, Nqobile Ndlovu, the founder of Cash and Sport. Nqobile, a very good afternoon to you. Let's talk a bit more about those player wages and salaries. What are the players typically paid?
Yeah, in the PSL, and good afternoon to you and the listeners. In the PSL, we don't currently have a minimum set structure that defines exactly what players will earn. If you look at SA Rugby, for example, they've got a central bargaining agreement every year that says players will earn this. In the PSL, though, I can safely say that the average PSL earner will earn at nothing less than 32,000 to 35,000 rand a month. But you do have players whose salaries go even above that, 450,000 rand a month at sort of like the top end. But there isn't a minimum set standard. So you can get players who earn significantly below that. And this is the challenge without having a set minimum wage in terms of players in the PSL.
Then are you able to then break down for us what is amortization?
Yeah, in terms of amortization, this is something that's quite interesting because a lot of people don't understand this. So when a team buys a player, there's two sides of a transfer. There's the buying team who buys the player and has to then pay the receiving club for that player. So let's say a player is bought for 100 million. They can break that cost down over the period of the term of the player. So if it's 5 years, it would be 25 million. And the team that's now selling the player can take that money and book it in revenue to like on the immediate day. They can, even though they're still going to receive that money later, they can count on. It's almost like an IOU, which they can count as cash immediately, and it helps them to be able to buy and sell players immediately. So that's what amortization is. Amortization is basically when you take the cost of a player, but you split it over 5 years. So even if a player is bought for 100 million, they never pay that 100 million upfront. 90% of the time, that is.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of talk is always around how much players are bought for. But then why is it then we need to focus more on wages and salaries, and it's more important than transfer fees?
Yeah, this is why, for me, this is the key thing. A transfer, you can, if it's 10 million and it's over 10 years, you're only going to pay 1 million in wages. But if you're also paying that same player 200,000 a week, by the time that the month ends, it's 800,000, and by the time that the year ends, you're paying more in wages than you are paying in salary costs, in sales costs for that player. So it's very important for clubs to balance the wages, because not only do the wages put a lot of financial pressure per week and per month on the team, they can also have a detrimental effect in terms of other players. Players are jealous. If they see other players earning significantly more than them, they also now want a higher salary. It just balloons the wage bill, and it causes chaos in the dressing room. So there's two parts to it, which is one, the immediate cost, like month to month. How do you pay that if you've got a whole bunch of players that are earning ridiculous amounts per week? And then also the dressing room harmony that you have to maintain. So it's not just about the transfer fees.
Well, Nqobile, thank you very much. It's always great chatting to you. That is Nqobile Ndlovu, the founder of Cash and Sport. Just chatting about the importance of focusing more on the players' wages and salaries than the transfer fees. And I know that one side that basically won't really be looking at these prices and stuff and trying to get new players, and I'm assuming that would definitely be Cape Town City, who are now relegated. And I think it's a sad day for Cape Town all in all, because Cape Town City relegated, also Cape Town Spurs relegated to the ABC Motsepe League. So
sure. So how many teams from Cape Town now? 2
out.
So who's present? So Stellenbosch are there?
Stellenbosch,
Stellenbosch, Cape Town, but Stellenbosch. That's it? Sure.
Stellenbosch. And we have a Northwest side in the Betway Premiership. I'm very happy because I am from Northwest myself.
So do you want to say it? Go for it. What's the I mean, you said it's a university team.
Yeah, it's the first FET college.
Give us your first chant for them.
No, I don't have a chant.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't have a chant.
Oya, you know, we spoke about.
Yeah, but it's a sad day for Cape Town City. It'll be interesting to see how they're going to do in the next season. With that said, it is a wrap from my side. I'll have more on other sports between 7 and 8.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This week on BBC Primetime, watching TV could make you a winner. It's the BBC Primetime Watch and Win competition. Just tune into your BBC Primetime shows, answer a few simple questions on S3's TikTok account, and you could walk away with awesome prizes. From thrilling dramas to jaw-dropping reality shows, the more you watch, the more chances you have to win. Watch, answer, win. Only on BBC Primetime. Airs weeknights 9 to 11 p.m. on S3. Your couch just became the best seat in the game.
The National Arts Festival is back. South Africa's biggest celebration of the arts is on. From the 26th of June to the 6th of July, Makhanda becomes the stage for South Africa's boldest theatre, dance, music, arts, comedy, and more. Experience the creative energy, markets, exhibitions, and many surprises. It's where the country comes to create and the world takes notice. Browse the program and book now at nationalartsfestival.co.za. Own it, celebrate it, be there.
Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
Abongile, let me maybe give you a chance to come in as well.
I had been to a mainstream school and I knew what it could offer. It was also a boarding school. The first thing I asked the principal was, are we all going in the same classroom? My mother said, well, why are you asking him? And I said, well, because I'm visually impaired, but I'm not going to be able to learn if I can't see. And what about my classmate who has deafness? How are we all going to be taught in the same classroom when my other classmate has autism and they learn in a certain way versus the child who has a learning impairment? These are the things that I witnessed as a child, and realizing these are the real deprivations that every child should have.
Abongile Kantini is a diversity, equity, inclusion.
If you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen, and nothing is off the agenda.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
In fact, we don't have an economic news update today because Jimmy's taken the day off. And I know the show, the SAFM Market Update, will be hosted by Dudu Ramela from 6 to 7. So that's the good news. You need to listen then. But we can't do a preview today, so do listen out for that, right? In the meantime, what we can do is this. Remember, we battled to play that Ramaphosa voice note about his thoughts on the challenges of youth with regard to unemployment. So this is what he said.
As it is also a very big and critical challenge for many other countries around the world, we are working to create opportunities for unemployed young people through various key interventions. First, over the past 5 years, we have expanded public and social employment programs at a massive scale through the Presidential Employment Stimulus. The Presidential Employment Stimulus, which people call PESI, has created 2.2 million publicly funded opportunities through a wide range of programs. And this is not Mickey Mouse. This is quite big and extensive. One of the flagship programs which we have implemented through the stimulus is the Basic Education Employment Initiative. This is the largest youth employment program in South Africa's history. Since 2020, it has supported the delivery of over 1 million jobs and livelihood opportunities in our country at over 23,000 schools. A few weeks ago, I announced that we are restarting this project, and we are going to have, I think, as I said, 600,000 young people who are going to be deployed in various schools on the same day, and that is precisely what we saw happening. Another example is the revitalized National Youth Service, which was launched by the National Youth Development Agency in 2020, which has created opportunities for young people in areas such as food, security, early childhood development, and many more other subsectors. Second, we are providing young work seekers with support and linking them to jobs. I had the opportunity and the privilege to see how, through this program, we are able to get young people, have them trained, and link them immediately to jobs that they can get to, and permanent jobs for that matter. In 2020, the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention was launched to create pathways for young people to enter the job market. The backbone of this intervention is the SA Youth Network, which has linked a growing number of young people to opportunities for learning and for earning. There are now over 4.7 million young people who are registered on the network, many of whom have been supported to access opportunities. And I had the privilege of meeting quite a number of these young people as one came across them and asked them, how did you get the job opportunity that you now have? And a number of them said, I registered on this platform, and immediately I was able to get a job opportunity. I was interviewed and selected. So we have found that that platform, which now has 4.7 million young people, a platform that really works. We set it up hoping that, yes, it would create opportunities, and that's precisely what it has done. Through the Employment Tax Initiative or Incentive and the Youth Employment Service, we are encouraging employers to create opportunities for young people. We continue to call on the private sector to hire inclusively and to prioritize young people.
That's the president, right? I tell you what, sometimes you look at these Twitter threads or the X threads, and the comments are just fascinating. So you may know earlier on I had a chat with Tumi and I said, I want Sundowns to win. I want Sundowns to win tonight. I want Sundowns to win tonight. That's to be very clear that I do want them to win. And then I get Nomsa Mdluli, and you may know her when she's been a newsreader within SAFM and SABC before. She tweeted, say, thank you Ashraf for the well wishes. So Masanda Wana now will make South Africa proud tonight. Please expect my email with the membership forms. Okay, so that's one part of it. Then I see Maswele Ralebona replying, saying, referring to Sundowns, they must come back home and stop embarrassing the country. Nomsa replies, what's embarrassing the country is that dismal team of yours. Maswele replies, my team do not call itself with another country's name, the fake Brazilians. Nomsa replies, the nickname was given to Sundowns by fans. Learn of the history and the reason behind it. Let's have a conversation on a more level playing field when your team reaches the international stage. Oh my goodness, the days of our football lives. Yeah, you do have this banter on the Twitter X platform. Right, let me get your calls. Butana, you're up next.
Good evening, my brother Ashraf.
Yeah, good evening. How's it, man? You're full of vuma.
The losers is the residents of the Johannesburg city. Rampant thieving has been normalized. Crookedness is out of control. Bree Street has exploded. Now, residents of this city must pay for that.
Yeah, but Butana, Butana, I hear what you're saying, but you are sidetracking what we asked about today. If you ask me, is Joburg in a mess? We know that. It's obvious it's in a mess. There's 100 things wrong. So what you're telling me is not new. What I'm asking is, who were the big winners and losers at today's vote in council?
The losers is residents of this municipality, my brother. No other losers than the residents that have to pay for this bomb nonsense. Okay. We are the losers.
All right. You've made your point very, very clearly. Thank you for that. Well, what about Action SA? They don't have a speaker, whereas the ANC still has their mayor. Yeah, that's more thoughts from you.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Parties like Action SA, they are just causing disruption in municipalities because of indecisiveness and lack of spinal cord, so to say. I mean, you cannot expect to be supported by parties that you didn't support in their motion. Why do they abstain? You can't be neutral when you know you also need support of other parties. And this thing is also disrupting the cohesion inside that municipality. And they are telling us it's political. Yes, they are a political party. It has to be political.
Okay, and I look at a tweet from, the DA first, DA Gauteng, saying, it's actually got two pictures. Parties who voted to rid the Joburg of the ANC's rot, and it's got a DA, ACDP, and Freedom Front Plus. And there's got a picture of Joburg, beautiful. Hillbrow Tower, magic, looks wonderful. Then it's got another picture of a complete mess in the streets with litter and sewage, right? And then it says parties will help to keep the ANC's rot in Joburg. ATM, good. ANC, Action SA, IFP, PAC, URM, Al Jamaa, PA, UDM, AIC. And then Herman Mashaba saying, tweeting that is, this post is a blatant insult to the DA supporters and the voters, right? There we are. We're talking about Herman Mashaba. Here's his thoughts.
Hi, Ashraf. Herman Mashaba messed up. He messed up big time. He messed up in the general elections. That's why they didn't do so well. And he's still messing up. I think Action SA is going to become like COPE, non-existent. visit Cape Town.
Well, they do have a mayor, don't they? And one who, for all intents, is doing pretty well, so do many people say. There's more on Action SA.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Parties like Action SA, they are just causing disruption in municipalities because of indecisiveness and lack of spinal cord, so to say. I mean, you cannot expect to be supported by parties that you didn't support in their motion. Why do they abstain? You can't be neutral when you know you also need support of other parties. And this thing is also disrupting the cohesion inside that municipality. And they are telling us it's political. Yes, they are a political party. It has to be political.
But why do you say they're indecisive? I know they abstain, but there are other parties that abstain at other times, and sometimes they vote, but they're indecisive about taking other major decisions, like getting rid of their own leaders because they want to hold on no matter what. I mean, just think about that too.
Evening, Ashraf. If Action SA doesn't reflect on themselves, they're going to end up look like Floyd Shivambu. If they can't reflect on themselves, they're going to be like Floyd Shivambu, Action SA. They have become a celebrity, not focusing on themselves. I thank you, Bijan Krugerzo.
Okay. Action SA, Floyd Shivambu. He's very active at the moment. He's got another press conference on Friday. He's been very, very busy, as they say, speaking more to the media than he ever had a chance to speak when he was part of the EFF.
Hi, Ashraf. I think it's richer. I think Action SA has been caught out. They are finding themselves in no man's land. They've got their bets split in a way that they seem to be unable to untangle themselves from. They are with the ANC in other things. They are not with the ANC now. They're finding themselves.
But they're not the only ones. I can think about, listen, the DA is not with the ANC today, but they're with the ANC and GNU. You understand what I'm saying? They're all there together. Solomon in KZN, go for it. Hello.
Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Yeah, how's it, man? Good to talk to you.
Yes, I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Good.
I just want to congratulate the political parties that are role players in the city of Joburg. Really, this exercise of changing mayors each and every time like it's undergarments has got adverse effects on the service delivery. Now that Damureo has returned, it would send a message to everybody who takes this thing as a game to say each and every time we're going to sponsor a vote of no confidence, even if it doesn't have any meaning to the citizens of Johannesburg. We have seen mayors, I do not know how many have even lost the count. People who come in as mayor, the next month they are out. And Johannesburg as the biggest city in Southern Africa, it requires stability for it to be able to pursue its development and the turnaround strategy. You see that Johannesburg is aging, is dilapidating, and investors are leaving Joburg City to other areas. Now, we need stability like yesterday there.
Well, I mean, we all agree, and that is one of the biggest issues for many people, that while they fiddle, what's that? Rome burns. In this case, Joburg burns while all these politicians fiddle, and they've been doing that for a long, long time. There's a lack of substance to suggest they truly put the city first. But maybe, some may say, not removing the mayor would be a case of putting the city first, because can we have another disruption and another disruption like every few months? We have a new person in charge. Solomon, thank you for that, on the wisdom of Solomon.
Hi, good afternoon, Ashraf. Mafuta Ashraf. The whole story about the death of Eddie Kalungu in Zambia is just nonsensical, Ashraf. Honestly, how can the head of state scramble, or the whole country scramble for where a former president should be buried? Eddie Kalungu or his family should decide wherever they want to bury him. No one has got that right. It's the family of him who has the right to to decide where to bury him, not the state, not anyone else. Ashraf.
Okay, I think it's a bit more complicated than that. I mean, I don't think it's that straightforward. That's the point that's been brought up by many other people too. But thanks for that call on the issue of Lungu. Is another.
Hi, Ashraf. Let the president of Zambia be buried at Zambia. He was here just for a checkup, for the medication treatment, and he passed away here. So let him bury it at his home, not in South Africa. He was just a visitor. Simple to understand this.
Okay. That means that no other leader in anywhere in the world can be buried anywhere else but in the country that they were born in. Really?
Afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, just recently, the city of Joburg was complaining about shortage of burial sites, land to bury people. Now it's available for Lungu now. It's now available. Or it's not available for poor people like me. Let's be fair, man. This man must go home. Must be deported. No man from Brixton.
You want to deport a dead person? Sure. Norman, thank you. We do have diversity. We have strong views all the time, every time. Here's one on unemployment.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ashraf. Yeah, the issue of outsourcing, it's a serious problem in South Africa. Actually, if we look at unemployment, it's designed purely by our government and its comrades. Because come to think of all the municipalities in the country, if they were to stop outsourcing and employing its own citizens, a quota of what we are complaining about, which is the quota of unemployment rate, can be reduced dismally. So the unemployment, it's done, purely designed by our government.
So you're saying the government willfully raises unemployment, and how does that suit them? I mean, seriously? Government, the quickest way to stay in power is to give people what they want, and number one of what they want is they want jobs, because with that comes wealth.
Hi, Ashraf, on the issue of that Commerce Municipality being able to pay the overtimes and that, on the overtime, I can understand, but there's also this thing of municipal workers, they only do work after hours because they say they want to get paid overtime. And so you log a ticket, the guys will tell you they'll come after hours because they want overtime. And it's really what we've come down to. Even Ikuruleni, the guys do similar thing. They come after hours because they want to get overtime. So I think maybe this thing of overtime municipalities needs to be regulated proper.
Okay, that's another one on overtime need to be regulated. Here's another. There's a couple more thoughts that I have from you. The issues of the municipality is a big deal, isn't it?
The municipality is waiting for an allocation from National Treasury. I thought National Treasury allocated money for service delivery. Are they now using money for water and roads to pay salaries? This is very interesting, Ashraf. It's Bongi here.
Thanks for that, Bongi. Well, there you are. I mean, they're all hamstrung, aren't they?
Good evening, Ashraf. Yeah, I'm listening to the clip about Ramaphosa's speech. But listen, I hear what he says. But what is the job that is? Which are those jobs that he's talking about? Because those people that he's talking about that they're put on the market, they are working for 6 months and then it's over. Let's put these people in a permanent position and then we look for others opportunities for the others who were left out. Then you can call it a job opportunities. Not what is happening now. Somebody's been employed today and then 3 months later he must go out for job hunting. So what kind of a job is that?
Well, you may be right. If it's temporary, it's not a job, is it? Or what?
Ashraf, people can say whatever. What if Nelson Mandela was to be buried in Kenya or Malawi? The government of South Africa would be asking them to be repatriated back. Obviously. There wouldn't be this thing of their family should... If South Africa was in arms now when the things of Mandela were being auctioned off, imagine now. Come on, man. People should be fair.
But who makes the final call? Is it like in a public figure like his? Is it the state or is it the family?
Ashraf Gada, thank you very much for the great show. I will comment tomorrow. My name is Sam Kutase. Thank you for the great show. I will comment tomorrow, Sam Kutase. Thank you, Ashraf Gada.
There we are. Okay, got that. We're going to look forward to your comments tomorrow. I tell you what, I'm going to end with this. Got an interesting point because of so much has been spoken about Action SA. So, they tweeted about 3 hours ago. This is what they said. We have fought at every turn to protect the residents of Johannesburg, even when they have been repeatedly betrayed by the endless political games of the ANC and the DA. As Action SA, we will not vote to defend Mayor Dada Morero in the motion of no confidence tabled against him today. Bottom line, are they paying the price for just that? That's the show. That's the National Pulse. But as always, it is a 24/7 show. Even after the show, you can tweet us using the hashtag The National Pulse. We will pick it up. Just one thought. Donald Trump has been very quiet today. Okay. We'll wait for tomorrow. Here's the news with Greg. It's 6 o'clock.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Joburg Council speakers removed and reports of demonstrators killed in Kenya. Good evening. The Johannesburg